Hey guys, welcome. It's Trent and Beth, and we are here with We're Gonna Deck You. He thinks you can see him, but you can't. We are here for our second episode ever of this live deck tech, and today we've got some different things going on, but we are gonna start with We Ship It. We Ship It is our favorite cards that we are just in love with. It could be commanders, it could be commons, it could be from a certain set. But because Kamigawa just came out, we thought we'd talk about our favorite stuff from Kamigawa and from
The recent Secret Lair drop.
Layers. Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
See, that's why you're here for me.
See, yeah, no, it's all good.
So, what are your favorite cards?
All right. So the Spike or the competitive person in me, some of my favorite cards from this set, first and foremost, Boseiju is just a stupid good land. Like, there's no reason that it should be better than every single other one of the channel lands, and it is. So, it's just so good. I've been playtesting it in Sylvala and in Gitrog Monster CEDH, and so far it's been doing really good work, and it's stupid.
Yeah.
Next for like a big splashy spell, I fucking love Jin Gitaxias. The new Jin it's everything I want in a blue card.
I pulled him out too, but no, I didn't. Never mind. I lied. I didn't pull him.
Yeah. Kaylee pulled him in his soft glow frame treatment and in foil, and it's stupid gorgeous in person. So the camera is not going to do it justice. But I love things that like force players to really use their resources to try and slow you down. And I love things that copy my value pieces. So this does a little bit of everything. Let's see. I'm obsessed with Hinata. I have not gotten around to build it yet. Turning all the bad quote unquote cards like Curse of the Swine, Byforce, Heliod's Intervention, stuff like that. Things that like really would normally cost a lot of mana to stop your opponents. Hinata just makes them really fucking good, and I really like that. I don't know. There's a few of mine. Beth, what about a few of yours before I just like start rambling about all these other cards? What do you got?
Let's see. I picked up a collector booster box this last weekend. Sorry, I was just realizing that I didn't have the right thing up, so I was fixing that real fast. As much as I love so many different cards, I am like in awe of the alternate art,
Light Paws?
Yeah, but I got Light Paws. Look at how cute she is.
Yeah. I got one in foil. I'm super fucking stoked. She's adorable.
Fucking adorable. I want to make an entire Fox deck in a way that I didn't even know that I needed.
Do it.
We opened, my pod and I share a library. We opened 2 set boxes, 1 draft box that we won on pre-release, and then I just recently opened that collector's booster box, and we only got 2 Boseijus. This legendary land. This is a foil one. It's definitely sleeved because it's still very expensive.
Yeah.
I like all of the legendary lands. I like that they're not pre-tap lands. I like that if you have plenty of mana, you can use it to do other things. More value. So
yeah.
I also picked up Greasefang.
Nice. I pulled one as well, both in its regular, or I pulled an extended foil and the alternate, just like yours, and in foil. So I pulled 4 of her.
Yeah.
She's awesome. I really want to build her.
Yeah, I have been like mulling around different types of vehicle decks. I'm actually, the only thing that I don't like about the recent set is there's no green vehicle commander, green, white, blue. And so I'm trying to like find a commander that is green, white, blue, and I think I found it. I just haven't quite like worked around it. So
white, green, out of curiosity.
Esika's Chariot.
Like the only green fucking vehicle in existence is the reason you want a green,
I
white, blue.
want my cat cart.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
That's fair. Oh no, Grubble. 0 Besiegers.
Yeah, so Kaylee and I opened 3 collector boxes and a set box. We got 4 Besejus.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I also love Goro Goro. He works really great for this set specifically because he's a samurai, but he's also one of the few characters that gives all your creatures haste. The only other one that I know of off the top of my head is Kenrith for 1 red. So that's a really valuable ability. And then for just a little bit more, you can create a 5/5 red dragon with flying. And that's not a tap ability. Neither of these are tap abilities. So you can just do that and do that and do that. And that's really freaking amazing. So he's cheap. He's a 2 cost. He's a 2/2. Might be hard to keep on the board, but I think he's really valuable. And he might make a decent red commander. You never know.
Yeah, just go hard in your like mana rocks, and once you have enough mana, just start creating 5/5s. And if you have leftover mana, you could create, a 5/5 this turn, give it haste. A 5/5
Exactly.
next turn, give them haste. Like, you can create an army pretty quickly with that dude. Kaylee really likes him too.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah.
She said she slaps. Or no, Girl Redacted said he slaps. Kaylee was talking about nervous about not getting that Buseju because you apparently pulled 3 more than she did.
No, I pulled a foil regular art and then the borderless, and then she ended up pulling 2 from her box.
I gotcha.
So
I also pulled this really gorgeous soft glow Tezzeret.
So Kaylee pulled one that's etched foil. Yeah. It's fucking stupid. Like her box. So we have this thing where I make her touch every pack she's about to give me to crack because she has the better luck with like the chase cards, the big money cards. I just have the better luck pulling the quote unquote playables.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
And then I think like I'll pass it back to you after this last one, but I really liked, and I'll pull my stream up my side so you can actually see. I'm not used to people not being able to see my side while we're both playing, but I will fix that soon. Is this mirror box. And not only do I love this mirror box because it's shiny and like the mirror is shiny, I love that they like focused and like actually made that mirror shiny, but I now have all sorts of plans for my Volo deck and for my Kenrith deck and for anything that makes tokens or like duplicates creatures. I'm like, mirror box it all. They're all legendaries now.
Nice. Yeah, no, mirror box is cool. Obviously it's a throwback to original Kamigawa block that had a mirror card in it. And then, anything with, you could throw Sakashima in. I mean, it's because it's basically a Sakashima on an artifact.
Yeah.
To an extent. And so, yeah, mirror box is cool. I don't have any plans for it. I did pull a soft glow version and a foil regular version. Nice. But yeah, back to other cards I really like. Let's talk really quick about the cutest lizard in all of Magic.
Oh my god, yes. Lizard Blades!
Dude, it's so goddamn fucking cute. Like, I don't understand it. It's just amazing.
I put it in this deck just because, like, he's so fucking adorable. Like, the deck that we're gonna fight again, like, we're gonna fight. I put him in that deck because I was like, I love him. He's so cool.
What I really like about this set with all of the like equipment, like that are also creatures, it was Grubble. Grubble recently was posting about his Lurrus deck, and we were talking about like trying to find that balance of like artifacts, equipment, auras, so on and so forth. What I really like about this set is a lot of or actually every saga eventually becomes a creature. So Enchantress decks now have both enchantments that will trigger their enchantress effects, so drawing cards, and then you can actually lower your creature count because you'll up it. Like your sagas now become creatures, and same thing with all these artifact creatures that are also equipment. In like my Valduk deck, which is all artifacts for the most part, I can actually lower the number of bad equipment or non-synergistic creatures just because I now have an extra creature that is also an equipment. It
Right.
fills 2 slots. It's 2 birds, 1 stone. It's really nice. So
Yeah.
plus he's cute as fuck. So
He is so cute. I also like that one of the things with Kamigawa is there's a lot of artifact removal or creature removal and enchantment removal because, of course, they've got lots of creatures, artifacts, and enchantments. But
Yeah.
you can actually protect, like, your Lizard Blades by having it equipped. So, like, what I was liking to do is go ahead and attack with it in, your combat phase, and then main phase 2, equip it to a creature that you don't care about as much. And then it's
Right.
a little bit harder to get rid of him. Obviously, if they have artifact removal, they can still get rid of him. But like standard creature removal that I think we see in Commander all the time isn't gonna really hurt him the same way. So
Right. Well, and it's nice too because for the same reason that the bestow aura like enchantment creatures from the original Theros block was decent. If you bestowed a creature and that creature died, then the enchantment then became the creature that it was.
Right.
So it was kind of that same deal. It filled 2 spots, and then if that creature got blown up or destroyed, whatever, you got to keep at least part of that creature.
Yeah.
So same thing, fills 2 slots, which is really nice. I also did pull the bestest boy, the goodest boy.
Ah!
Yeah. I'm probably gonna be one of those degenerates that pairs him with Tevish just to sacrifice him and draw 3 cards. Yeah.
You monster!
Well, so I have this idea of either pairing Yoshimaru and Timna for like an Orzhov Legendaries matter, or Yoshi and Tevish for the same thing. They're both card draw engines in the command zone. Yoshimaru is going to get bigger from both of them regardless. So I think Timna's probably the better bet because then I don't look like a monster just sacking a
poor
cute ass
puppy.
puppo.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, Cryptic's got it. It's just an empty chair. You sacrifice the dog, draw 3 cards.
I've literally pulled it up on Spell Table. It is definitely a dog. I can see it nice and big. Cryptic, you need some glasses, mate, because that's a dog in that seat.
No.
I don't see the problem sacking it. It's a puppy.
And then Ishin, who I know I don't have to go too in depth because you know what's up.
Yeah.
This card is so dumb. I really am looking forward to building it. I plan on building it as like curses because they're all permanents that you control that will trigger when you attack people. So Curse of Opulence now creates you 2 treasures. Curse of Shallow Graves creates you 2 zombies. It should be fun. I think it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. This deck that I built, obviously we know is an Ishin deck, but I started it off as a different samurai, the red-white samurai, that gives you, I think he gives you an extra combat phase.
Yeah, is that Ryu?
Ryu,
yes,
Ryu. And I ended up switching over just because I named the deck Old Yeller and be done with it, you monster. I love you, Grebel.
Jesus.
I ended up switching to Ishin, one, because there were other creatures that kind of fit into that same scheme, but maybe didn't have as much samurai synergy.
Right.
But also because I wanted to have black. I felt it was a little weak with just the red-white, so I wanted a third color.
Yeah, I was trying to. So there's a card from like Core 19. It's Audacious Infiltrator, Audacious Thief. I forget what it's 2 and a black, and it's whenever this creature attacks, you draw a card and you lose a life. And I was like, sweet, like I'll capitalize on that. It turns out that's the only creature with that text that. And I was like, all right, well, never mind. Like it'll probably still go in the deck because drawing 2 cards for attacking is still pretty good. But I was hoping there would be more, and there's just not. Most of them are blue, so.
Yeah.
And then my last 2 like big big ones that I want to talk about are actually commons.
Okay.
Specifically, these 2 are very good in Enchantress decks. Like, I talked to you a little bit earlier. I talked to Kaylee too about the deck that I built is Satsuki, the Living Lore. So she's a Saga Matters commander. She's kind of an Enchantress. But these 2 cards are going to be even better in a deck like Sithis, Harvest Hands, where you just draw cards for casting equipment. And they are Fang of Shigeki, who's just a 1-mana fucking snake with Death Touch, but it's also an enchantment. And the other bestest boy, our Spirited Companion.
I love both of those. I actually got, like, Fang of Shigeki did so much work for me in pre-release, especially with ninjutsu, because people were like, well, it's just 1 damage, you know, I won't block it, it's got Death Touch, it'll kill my guys. And then you're like, well, listen here, motherfucker. And then you ninjutsu some shit in there that's like even worse. So
yeah, I bet I would hope soon there is a Sultai commander that cares about ninjas in some capacity, because there's already multiple black-blue commanders that can be really good ninjutsu commanders, and not just Yuriko. Like even Katose. Katose
is gorgeous. The spider, the silent spider.
Yeah. I pulled. I'll have to find it, but I pulled one of her extended arts the alternate arts.
I did too. I actually just didn't pull it, but that's what she looks like in regular.
Yeah.
I stole someone's Kaido with her.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was not nice.
Yeah, when I first looked at Katose, I was kind of like on her, but the more I look at her, the more I'm like, actually, as a mid-game like value commander, like you can exile someone's fetch land and then just play it, and then you get to go look through their hand, graveyard, and library just for free. That's pretty good. Like, knowledge is power. And like being able to cast other things, like whether it's ramp spells or disruption spells or anything like that, being able to cast those is pretty fucking valuable. And it's for as long as they remain exiled, so there's no real timestamp.
The other thing that I like about her is that, like, if you know your opponent has put a card on top of their library, you can force a shuffle. Like against Corey's Runo deck, Katosi, like all right, put that card on top, and now it's not. No, so I didn't like Katose at first, but the more I read her, the more I was like, actually, this could be pretty playable. Maybe not as much as a ninja commander, but just as, you know, I mean, I would still probably build it as a ninja commander, but that's why I'm like, if they make a Sultai Ninjas Matter commander between all the green ninjas that just got printed and all the black and blue ones that already exist, it'd be a pretty solid deck. For sure.
I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but it'd be cool.
Probably about the same time they reprint all those old cards I was talking about on Twitter.
Yeah, probably. It'll be a while.
Yeah, so I have a couple more, and they're just, again, I love pretty things. So I have Junji, the Midnight Sky, in both extended arts. One is foil, one is not. A lot of people.
I was very jealous when you pulled those, by the way.
I'm sorry.
All good.
I'll see if I have any extras, because we do not, like, we have a lot of repeats in some things. Not in these, but I might have 1 or 2. But yeah, this art is just, I just can't get over it. I just can't get over it. And a lot of people were shitting on the Kamigawa dragons, but you know what? Respectfully, get off their dicks.
I think the Kamigawa dragons are actually pretty slick. They're not as powerful as the first ones, and I think that's a good thing, you know, because I mean, we already have stupid broken things like Kakusho in the right deck, like a Teysa Karlov deck, is pretty fucking gross. Everyone loses 10, I gain 30 is very powerful. But
Well,
even still, like with Kyrie, the blue one,
mhm.
there is a potential infinite combo with Kyrie and a couple other cards. It requires some setup, but it's pretty fucking doable. So
Yeah, I also pulled out Kyodai, Soul of Kamigawa. He's just
nice.
a Wooburg dragon.
Yep.
And the other thing that I was actually just thinking about, all of these dragons are also spirits. So the
Yep.
one thing that Crimson Vow and Midnight Hunt had was a lot of spirit support,
Yep.
especially with that precon. So you pair that with dragons, and that's just kind of insane in my opinion.
Well, was it Okagachi is a dragon spirit that came with your dragon precon. That's a Wooburg dragon. So there you go. You could have a dragon spirit Wooburg deck pretty easily if you wanted to stay on theme.
Ooh, I like it. I
Do it.
also, we last episode we built our Tatsunari deck,
Yep.
and I got Kimi. Figured
Hey,
out my little frog, and he's shiny.
have you heard the lore about Kami?
Uh, don't tell me if he gets squished, I'll cry.
It's pretty sad. Yeah,
Don't tell me. I don't want to know.
well, it's kind of important, but yeah,
No, no.
just actually, just
You're,
watch
you
the
can't help
Command Zone's
yourself, can
last.
you? You're like,
Just
I'm gonna
watch
tell
the
you.
watch the Command Zone's last game nights with Posty because they do their Neon Dynasty thing, and it basically will explain everything. I think it's Josh ends up sacrificing Kimi over and over and over again, and that's basically what happens in the lore. So
That's horrible. That is
yeah, it's pretty
fucking
sad.
sad.
It's pretty sad.
Okay. So I also, just real quick, I pulled Kura, and then my favorite spirit out of this deck was Thundering Raiju. And he does.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And here's why.
Explain yourself.
Explain myself. So when he attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. So that's an
Yep.
attack trigger, right?
Yep.
If you have a 1/1 counter creature, that's a modified creature. And then after he attacks, whether or not he does damage, he deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of modified creatures you control other than Thundering Raiju. So I think
Fair.
he's one of those creatures where all you have to do is attack with him, and then you get all of
You
that
start-
value.
Yeah, you start acquiring value. No, that's
Yeah.
fair. That's pretty sweet. I think it'll see a lot of play in either Ishin decks or like the new Chishiro deck.
I actually
shit,
didn't put this in my Ishin deck.
I mean, you should. Free 1/1 counters, right?
I
Like,
mean, we'll just put him aside. I didn't. There's a lot of stuff in that deck, and I already had to cut spells. Like if you looked at my there's already a sideboard.
yeah, I saw. You have like Jeweled Lotus and shit in your sideboard too.
Jeweled. Okay, I didn't put Jeweled Lotus in because my commander is a 3-cost commander and it's three
With
colors.
3 different colors,
And Jeweled
yep.
Lotus is only 1.
Yep.
And I know that if I have to cast my commander a couple of times, Jeweled Lotus would count, but it just seemed like by the time I had to cast my commander a second time, like I should be able to do that without Jeweled Lotus. Anyways,
Right.
that was my thinking. And then I put in 2 uncommons as well, and I put in another Ratty Boy, the Silver Fur Master.
Yep. He's a good one.
He's a good one. And then I think this one, speaking of Nakashima, Orochi Merge Keeper. He's a 1/1 mana dork, but if he's modified, he gives you 2 force instead of 1. And look, he's shiny.
He is shiny.
So I think the only thing we have left to talk about is Secret Lair.
Secret Lairs. Yeah, so I recently in the mail got all of my Secret Lairs that I ordered like 4 or 5 months ago. I haven't actually like opened them. I just cracked the white packaging or whatever.
So we're gonna
But-
like open them for the first time right now.
I mean, we could.
Okay, so let's narrow this down. Out of the 7 Secret Lairs, what 2 are you most excited about?
Ooh, what two? think I'm most excited about Read the Fine Print, which is a bunch of legendary demons, and it's going to be a toss-up between Monster Anatomy and, believe it or not, The Secret Lair. So there, I narrowed it down to 3.
Okay.
Or the Stranger Things Secret Lair. That's what I meant.
Great job following instructions.
Yep, that's what I do.
All right. So which one of those do you think we should show our friends in chat today?
Ooh, I don't know. Let's ask chat. What do you feel like seeing most? Do you want to see Monster Anatomy, Demons, or Secret Lair, or Stranger Things shit?
It was a trap all along. I know, Grobble.
You're goddamn right it was. It's what we do here. We trap you into thinking you're safe, and you're not.
You're not safe.
All right. Let's see. Well, I'll go ahead and, since no one wants to talk to us.
Girl Redacted says demons.
Ooh, fuck yeah, let's do it. Read the fine print. Let's go. So what's already really cool about this is the main reason I bought this specific secret lair, or wanted to get this secret lair, is because there's a $30 creature. His name is Razaketh the Foul-Blooded. He sees a lot of play in CEDH decks because he literally just lets you go tutor for shit.
Yeah. I actually just bought a commander deck from my LGS last night because it had Dockside in it.
Nice.
Yeah. My first Dockside, and I was like, well, gotta do it.
Dockside's a good card.
Emmet says all of them. I don't think we have time for all of them, but
That's fair.
But I would like where your head's at.
Right. So the special card that came with this one is pretty sweet. So it's Liliana Dreadhorde General. It's the stained glass version of her, which is pretty slick. Very few complaints there. I know like a couple of my secret layers had just a foil mountain. I always love when, if you go on Facebook and any of the groups, people start bitching about the free cards they get in their secret layers, and it always just makes me giggle. I did get 2 mountains as some of my special cards, so I mean I was one of those people that was like, "Aw," but all right. So
you got a shiny mountain.
Yeah. So first and foremost, Razaketh the Foul-Blooded. The reason that I really wanted this secret lair specifically, so 8/8 Flying Trample, pay 2 life, sacrifice another creature, search your library for a card, put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. I don't think I need to talk about why this is good.
Nah.
Because paying life to tutor is just very fucking powerful.
He's so pretty though. He's
very cool. I opted not to get foils strictly because it seems like still they're Pringles. So
yeah,
I was trying to make sure none of my shit Pringled out of the box. Then it had this really cool Liliana's Contract, which I do play as an alternate win con in my Villas deck. So I thought that was pretty slick. At the beginning of my upkeep, if I control 4 more demons with different names, I win the game. Pretty straightforward there. Gristlebrand is unfortunately banned in our format. Probably for good reason. Because, you know...
Life is a resource, and
Life is a resource.
Uses it all.
Yeah. So if you're paying 7 life to draw cards, especially because he has lifelink, he pays for himself.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's very silly.
He's like Liesa for me.
Yeah. And then Kothafed, Soul Hoarder, 6 mana, 6/6 flyer, and whenever a permanent owned by another player is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card, lose a life. This is another cool one I actually didn't have, and he's gonna go in Villas because very simple. I mean, shit dies all the time, and people sacrifice treasures all the time. So what's better than getting value off of people's shit dying?
For sure.
And then the last card that came with it was Demon Lord Belzenlock, 6 mana, 6/6 Flying Trample. I've seen him attempted at high power like CEDH tables. I've never seen him actually do things. I personally don't know how I would try and build around him. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. Cryptic might have some ideas because he likes playing like fringe, high tier CDH stuff.
He disappeared. He went to go play with Cop Cop.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bells Unlock's interesting. When you ETBs, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card, put it in your hand, and if the card's mana cost is 4 or greater, repeat this process, and then he deals 1 damage to you for each card put into your hand this way. So again, life is a resource. I mean, if you build a deck that is all high CMC cards, I can see where that might just net you a shit ton of value and maybe on your next turn go off. But
I feel like this is a deck for me. Because I always
Why?
put too many high CMC cards in.
yeah,
I'd be like,
well, yeah, I mean, and honestly, he'd be good for my Villas deck, right? Because most of my demons are at least 5 or 6 CMC, so the chances of me potentially drawing 3, 4, 5 cards off this guy and just losing a handful of life is pretty decent.
apparently he does work in Grixis Reanimator and is seen in Joda a lot.
Huh.
And Grubble's saying that efficiency is not his strong suit either. Thank you. Thank you for getting me.
I disagree. I saw that Luris deck.
You helped build that Luris deck.
Yeah, I helped tune or tweak it. I wouldn't say I helped build it.
All right. So that's our favorite cards like this week, right?
Yeah. Changes every week.
Changes every week, every minute, every second.
Yep.
So now we are going to rate some decks. Are you excited?
I'm looking forward to this. I'm actually looking forward to you peering over my Snakashima list and see what you think about that.
I don't think I grabbed your Nakashima list, but
What?
I can.
No,
I will.
no, too late.
No,
too
I'm
late.
I will.
We're throwing the script out the window. This
No,
is trash.
I'm grabbing it. I'm grabbing it. You can't stop me.
We're
Oh my god. We're a mess. Let's see.
a little bit of a mess.
I love it. I am following you. I guarantee it. If I'm not following you, that would be really embarrassing.
Don't worry. There's times where I know I have followed someone, and then like I'll go home on my PC and it says I'm not following them, but then I'll open Twitter on my phone and it says I am following them. So I don't know if Twitter knows what it wants.
No, I mean on Moxfield. You don't have this listed?
Oh, most of my decks aren't listed. They're all hidden. Give me 2 seconds and I will make it visible.
Visible.
Yeah.
Queen writes the script and therefore can change the script. I mean, you're not wrong, Riley.
That's true.
We do have a discussion about it. We discuss it beforehand sometimes.
Cool. So there's the list. We'll post it in chat just for shits and grins too, or if that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'll throw it in chat. If people want to look at my Rule 0 Snakashima deck,
All right.
there is Kaseto Orochi Archmage is in the 99 in case you encounter someone who says, no, you can't play that Rule 0 deck. You still have an alternate commander for the command zone.
Yeah.
But it's Snake Tribal. It is bullshit Snake Tribal, but it is so much fun. I love playing this deck.
So before we actually get into rating decks, I wanted to kind of talk about like what I thought about like putting a number on a deck before we were like, and this deck's a 2.
Right.
When I look at a deck, I'm going to look at playability. I'm going to look at win cons. I'm going to look at how aggressive it is. And also if it even works, if that mana curve is right. And I know every deck that we're looking at today is someone's favorite deck. So I'm expecting them all to work.
Right.
And we're not going to go into full deck doctors on this section. So it's not like we're going to be ripping this deck apart and, telling you that you need to do it this way. In fact, for Rate My Deck, I don't think anybody even knows that we're doing it. And
Right.
Other than Trenton's, I have actually copied over and taken away the names who created this deck so no one feels like their feelings are hurt. I don't want anyone to be like, oh no, that was my deck. And everybody hates me.
Right. Now everyone's gonna follow me on Moxfield and comment about how bad it is.
Yeah, no, that is not the goal.
No.
The goal
No,
is
for sure.
to hide my personal information, though, so that's fine. So yeah.
All your other tabs that are up.
Yeah, seriously. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and look at this one. So this is Nakashima. I've actually played against this deck, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
A few times now.
I have lost every game I've played with it, but it is hands down been one of the most fun decks I've ever played. It's stupid fun. Your command zone is literally draw cards and then clone draw cards.
Yeah. I will say the reason you've lost when I've played against this deck is because it's fucking scary, and I will convince the entire board to kill it.
No, that's totally fair. I mean, 1/1s becoming 3/3s, everything having death touch or drawing me cards is very, very powerful.
I'm kind of surprised you are. I'm checking like 3 times. You're running not without a Coma.
Well, yeah. Coma's a bullshit card. I hate playing against Coma. Why would I subject people to playing Coma?
I mean, I hate being milled, but I love to play it.
Yeah, honestly, so this is a deck that I built one kind of in a hurry. It was so Mr. Fitzy Fitz he invited me on this stream. It was the rule 0 was everything you had Sakashima and you could partner it with any legendary from the original Kamigawa block. And all of us ended up picking green legendaries, so we all had Simic bullshit decks. It was pretty fun.
Nice.
But yeah, I wanted to build Snake Tribal. And now I'm curious, is Coma a snake?
He's a serpent, I believe.
Yeah, he's a serpent. See? Doesn't count. Doesn't count.
I mean,
doesn't count.
Someone over there, not where you are, but in a place that I won't name because I've already tagged them once in the last 48 hours, and that's enough for me, should understand synonyms. And why would you start naming something serpents and something snakes? I know you probably did it on purpose, but I think it's a bad choice. That's my take.
Why is Greater Tanuki a dog and not a raccoon? Or at least a beast?
Right? I agree.
I don't get it.
I agree. I actually keep looking at this Hex Drinker because I've played this a few times. Coma's a pain enough without giving it tribal support. You're not wrong.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
You're not wrong. I have not seen Hex Drinker come out one time in any game I've played with you. And I was sitting here looking at it and I was kind of like, okay, all right. I don't know that I'd play it. And then I kept reading it while you were talking. And it's actually, I mean, it's kind of nasty.
Right? Protection from instance is pretty big. Like, no one can swords it or, like, Pongify, murder, any of that shit. It's just a mana sink for when you know you have, like, a board state that you don't need to continue developing, but you need to get through.
Yeah.
So you just dump 8 mana into this fucking 2/1, it becomes a 6/6 with protection from everything. And assuming you have your commanders out, it is now a 10/10 that draws you 2 cards when it connects.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Seems pretty good.
I don't like it.
I love it.
I know why you like it, but I'm like, you've got the Metallic Mimic.
Yep.
It wasn't you. No, it was Danny who was like, I don't like shapeshifters. I put some more shapeshifters into my Volo deck to try to play off of that ability of like stealing other people's stuff.
Right.
And he was like, shapeshifters are cheating, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I only ran 2, right? So Metallic Mimic is good because it makes all my small creatures bigger. It also comes down very early. Mm-hmm. And then the other one in there is the Adaptive Automaton, which... Oh, no, I do have Realm Walker in there.
I'm looking at Realm Walker right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
Yeah,
look,
I got you.
Playing cards off the top of your fucking library is very good.
Okay, so are you going to update this with any of the cards from Kamigawa?
Bang of Shigeki is in there.
Okay, well, that's just one.
That is just one. To be completely honest, out of all of the snakes that were in Kamigawa, at least all the ones that I saw, I, other than Fang of Shigeki, there wasn't quite enough that felt like they mattered, right? Like
Right.
Coiling Stalker, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on a creature you control that doesn't have a 1/1 counter on it. If for some reason I already have, like, Metallic Mimic is one of those that I love getting early, then most of my snakes are going to have 1/1 counters. And obviously I can't rely on that 24/7, but it's so far I have drawn that more than anything else. Heir of the Ancient Fang is another snake, ETBs with a 1/1 counter on it if I control a modified creature, but it's a 3-mana snake, and the 3-mana slot is already pretty heavily fought over in that
Right.
deck, so not really worth it in my opinion at that point.
I gotcha. So it looks like you have just 2 counter spells in here.
Yep.
And
I tried not to go too counter heavy. I
Yeah.
wanted my interaction to be other things, bounce spells
Yeah.
and protection. So
And
like,
you have-
and actually, Simic Charm, if I remember correctly, also counters shit.
let me see. No. Simic Charm, target creature.
Oh,
plus 3.
but it protects my board. Yeah,
it
permanent
protects your
control
board, but
and
it's not.
hexproof.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
have a pretty big ramp package.
Yep,
Like-
because I have 10 mana worth of commanders.
Right. And you have a lot of draw cards because you love drawing.
Because
ever.
I love drawing cards.
Bounce spells
Well,
are
'cause-
some of my favorite interactions, Garble says.
So the big thing that I was realizing when I was playtesting it initially is once you get to 6 mana, like Sashiro is almost always going to draw you cards, but
Mhm.
getting to that 6 mana. So Distant Melody was a good one. Like it's a tribal 4 mana draw spell. Obviously Harmonize is just decent. Like the more I play tested, the more I realized if I didn't keep a hand with like 3 lands and 2 pieces of ramp, I was probably going to run out of gas before I even started getting gas.
Yeah.
So I was able to, by adding more things like Harmonize and Distant Melody and having a bigger ramp package, I was able to stabilize really early on. I was able
Yeah.
to cast a ramp spell, cast a draw spell, cast a ramp spell, and by turn 5-ish, 5 or 6, now I've got the mana I need to be able to cast one commander on one turn, and then cast Sakashima, clone that commander, and then really go off to the races.
So would you say the win con for this deck is combat?
100% combat. There is no other win con in this deck.
Okay. So I know this deck well because I've played against it. And I will say that like this deck, in my opinion, goes really wide. Like,
Yeah.
10 turns later, you've got like 100 million snakes, but they all seem
Yeah.
kind of small.
Well, they seem small until you land your commander, and then they're fucking huge.
Fair. So the only other thing that I was looking at is like maybe the land. I noticed you didn't have a Rogue's Passage, and I feel personally like a Rogue's Passage is like necessary for a combat based deck.
Yes, and yeah, I can see that.
But
I guess
I also know that this deck really works. So, based off of that and the low land, it's 1.95 with lands. You are really balanced on where your lands fall, right? Like
right.
a little high blue, but like the blue that you need it.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that no matter what, I had access to blue because, like, one of my commanders is blue,
Yeah.
and almost all my interaction at some point is going to require blue.
I'm going to rate this an 8 out of 10. And the reason why is because it is super scary, but I haven't seen you win with it yet.
True.
And I do think that a Rogue's Passage might help you.
That's fair.
And I
One
do,
could argue that a reliquary tower would help me too, because then I don't have to
yes,
discard after I draw a fuck ton of cards.
absolutely. Also, why do you not like just standardly run Reliquary Tower? Because every deck you play is draw.
So it's one of those things I started to learn or feel like Reliquary Tower was more of a crutch. You were leaning on, like, if you were going to draw a bunch of cards, you're just going to sit there with
Yeah.
60 fucking cards in your hand. And then you're going to sit there every single turn. You're like, and you don't really know what you're going to do. When you take away the max hand size restriction, it forces you to dial in your plan.
Yeah.
And I like that more. I like knowing, okay, these are my best 7 out of 15 cards. The others, they're valuable, but they're not going to really help me get to the end game any sooner.
Yeah.
So I've been leaning away from max hand size restriction cards more, just because I feel like it's made me a little bit more of like a, maybe not a better player, but a more consistent player. Because if I have 12 cards, I have to decide out of those which 5 aren't worth playing on my next turn.
With most people, I would agree with that, but you tend to draw like 30 to 50 cards at times, and like that's a rough discard.
That's true. Although, how many times in this deck have I gone to discard and I'm almost always discarding lands?
That's fair.
Right? Like,
fair.
I'll discard 6 forests and a fucking snake that isn't going to do me any good, And
Fair.
it doesn't hurt my feelings at all.
So basically, I would up this rating if you win, but you don't get to play this deck today, so we won't find out today.
That's fair.
All right, so going on to our mystery decks, we have several. We've got 6 other decks that we're going to look at, and I just pulled these off of Twitter. So if you guys are interested in having us rate your decks, and you see me post something about what's your favorite deck or whatnot, I probably will pull that to rate it. But also, you can DM it directly to me if you're like, hey Beth, can you and Trenton take a look at this deck? We'll pull it into a deck doctor, or we'll just rate it. There's going to be decks out there that don't need a deck doctor, that would just be like, I would play this deck exactly the way that it is.
Right.
But other ones, maybe they need a little help, or maybe you want to see what we would do. And it's not, again, Magic is a great game because you can play it however you want to play it. But depending on what your goals are, other people might see things differently or in a way that you might have missed. I almost always send all of my decks to Trenton and Corey and some other friends to look over, because they have opinions that I don't always see. And they keep me in check. Like Grebel said, I need restrictions or I get paralyzed by options. If I could build a 300 card commander deck, oh God. Like,
well, the other thing too, right, is like getting more eyes on a list is really nice, because, like, for example, you only recently in the last like year got into Magic, right?
Yes.
Whereas I've been playing pretty consistently for the last almost 6 years, so I've got a little bit more knowledge. But then like someone like Corey has been playing consistently for the last like 15 years, so he's got even more. And it's just opening up the dialogue for, hey, this is a deck that I love, but maybe it doesn't do X, Y, or Z, what are your thoughts? Kind of opens up the door for, oh, well, maybe someone with either more experience in the format or has been around longer, so knows more cards off the top of their head. Just lets those people be like, hey, here's an idea. And obviously, if you're in chat or if we look at your deck and we're like, oh yeah, this deck seems fine, but maybe it's lacking here or there, take everything with a grain of salt, because we're not perfect. And we're not professionals either. Everything is going to be based off of like personal opinion or personal preference.
Absolutely.
So do not, if we look at your deck and you're like, oh, they said it's a 5 or a 6 out of 10 because it's lacking a good interaction or a good ramp package, don't take that as your deck sucks. fucking rebuild it from the ground up.
Yeah.
Just know that like my version of a ramp package and Beth's version of a ramp package are massively fucking different, you know? Like Beth is all about like Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, I'm good. And I'm like, no, you need 5 other pieces of ramp in order to call it a fucking ramp package.
There's cards in here that do that.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And to answer your question, if you are actually looking for us to look at your deck without me grabbing it myself, a DM on Twitter would be perfect, or you can get on our Discord. I say our, it's ours. And you can and you can go ahead and post it in the deck ideas and just tag me and let me know that you want me to take a look at it, and we will put it on the slot on the slab, as you say. Also, it is mine, but you can literally do everything that I can do, so
That's true. I have the power.
have the power. Sometimes I forget, and then you're like, hey Beth, what's up? And I'm like, I was hiding. All right, so this first one is a CEDH deck, and it's Shorakai, which is one of the newer commanders. Pretty exciting.
Nice. I think I know whose this is, but let's get into it.
I think you do, yeah. So Shorakai is really fun. He's the alternate commander for the vehicle deck, the Precon. And obviously this is not a Precon, it's rated CEDH. So I'm going to let you kind of take the wheel on this one. Yeah. And then I'll make sure, I forgot to send you the link, but I will send you this. I'll send you the bookmark so that you can just click on it. And I'll put the bookmark in chat for you guys so that you guys can all see what I'm looking at.
Follow along.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, am I following you on Moxfield?
That would be embarrassing.
Queen of, I'm assuming it's Queen of Cardboard.
Yeah.
Yep, there it is. Yeah, I am following you. Cool.
Yeah.
So, are these listed or unlisted?
It should be unlisted, but if I sent you the bookmark, you should be able to click it, right?
I don't know. Can you send messages on Moxfield?
I don't know. The one I'm looking at right now, I just made public. So if you refresh, then you should be able to see it.
Dum-da-dum-da-dum. Yeah, chat's probably like, wow, guys, get your shit together.
Shorakai is sweet as hell. Just play the Precon, no mods other than changing the commander, and it pops. Yeah, I played Shorakai at my LGS for Commander Night, and it did well. I mean, I didn't win with it, but I was playing with people that I think, okay, I'm about to say something really mean, so bear with me. I went and played Commander last night, and I realized that some of the people at my LGS, and maybe at yours, buy lots of expensive cards, but don't really put them together in a way that works. So there's lots of value in the deck, and it kind of does splashy stuff, but it can't clinch the win. Right. And so against the Precon, it's a little harder to deal with because it isn't as splashy tend to be. I mean, at least the newer, you know what I mean. Anyways, so I didn't win, but I held off for an hour and a half. Yeah, with a Precon. With my other decks, like my Squirrels deck, my Liesa deck, even my Negan deck, if I play them against the same people, they just smack. I played a what was it? Not Rick, but the girl who makes people. Adeline. I played an Adeline deck. Adeline. Yeah, an Adeline deck last night, and there's no reason he shouldn't have won. He had like 40 humans. He just never swung out with them, and I finally out-squirreled him.
Damn.
Yeah. And then I went infinite, you know. Wow. Wiped his board. Wiped the
Doing
other,
squirrel things.
doing squirrel things.
All right. So should we get into this one?
Yeah.
All right. So this is who I think it is. When they first sent me the list, they were running like 36 or 35 lands, which is pretty high for competitive.
Okay.
CEDH decks normally want to sit between ideally 28 and 31, unless you're playing Gitrog Monster, in which case you are a lands matter deck at that point, and you kind of need the ammunition because Gitrog is going to make you sacrifice a land at each of your upkeeps. So Gitrog gets away with running like 35, 36 lands. A deck like this would not, especially in a CEDH meta. That has been addressed. They're now running 29 lands, which is pretty standard. They've got a handful of basics, which is good. They're not running in their enchantments, I can already see, so they're not running back to basics, which, being a stacks deck, and like scrolling through his list, he's got multiple win cons chilling here. So he's got Thassa's Oracle as a backup. He's got Auriok Salvagers, which combos with Lion's Eye Diamond. They've got a Polymorph effect for Hullbreaker Horror. They've got Isochron Scepter and Dramatic Reversal with Sensei's Divining Top with Aether. No, they're not running Aetherflux Reservoir. So there's a few things about this deck that I'm questioning. One, they're running Rule of Law, which is a great stacks piece, but the problem is if you're running Isochron Scepter, you're butt fucking yourself. Like, no, you just are. Like,
Yeah.
Isochron Scepter, if it didn't make you cast the copy, you would be Gucci, but you're actually casting the copy instead of just copying the spell, which Rule of Law will absolutely just destroy you. So when we were originally talking about their list, I was like, you've got to run more bounce spells, because they were only running Chain of Vapor as their instant to be able to get rid of their own Rule of Law.
Which they still have. Yeah.
Which is totally fine. But the thing about Chain of Vapor that's so good is you use it offensively to get rid of someone else's combo piece at the time.
Yeah.
You almost never want to use it on yourself. I suggested Alchemist's Retrieval, which for 1 mana basically does what Chain of Vapor does. For 2 mana, it does what Disperse or Winds of Rebuke does, and I think that's better.
He's got it in here too.
Yep, yeah. Shorkai's really cool because he is a 4 mana artifact that can't really be destroyed or, can't be Toxic Deluged away or Swords to Plowshared unless he's crude. So he bypasses a lot of creature removal, which is nice. And for 1 mana, you're going to tap him, draw 2 cards, discard 1, create a blocker, which I have a video about this deck in particular, me kind of talking about the Rule of Law thing. The 1/1 pilot is actually pretty sweet. It's a good blocker against Tymna decks, which are very relevant in CEDH. So that way people just aren't drawing cards off of you. There's a few cards in here I would cut. I would probably trim your win cons a little bit. I think the Polymorph Hullbreaker Horror aspect is a cool line. I don't know if I would run it personally, because if I'm going to run the Isochron Scepter Dramatic Reversal combo and just draw out my deck, I'd rather just do that and Thassa's Oracle for the win. Or run Aetherflux Reservoir, and that way you build up a storm count and then you just Death Star the table. So the deck, I've play tested it, or I've goldfished it a little bit. I do like it. I think it will stand at a CEDH table. I think the Rule of Law needs to go and be replaced with a more one-sided stacks piece. In the same vein, Archon of Emeria is a creature that does the same thing Rule of Law does. Those kinds of stacks pieces, when you're in this deck that actually wants to be storming more than stacksing, I would replace with things like that back to basics, which makes it so non-basics don't untap during their controller's untap. That is a stacks piece that in a CEDH meta will just absolutely wreck 40% of the 60% of the decks that you run into, because most people, like, that's why Blood Moon in CEDH is so detrimental, and why 1 and 2 color decks do really good against those kinds of decks. So you're in a 2 color deck, you can afford to run more basics, and you can run back to basics. I would absolutely do that.
Yeah.
Other than that, like I said, I've goldfished this deck. I would take out that Sky Sovereign console flagship because it's a 5 mana lightning bolt. I don't like that. It doesn't do anything else in the deck, I don't think, other than just so happen to be crewed off of 1 pilot. I don't know if that's good enough. So there are some changes that I would make to this deck to make it more stacksy on one side, on the opponent's side, and not my own. Yeah, otherwise, like, the shell is pretty good. Everything that you need for a stacksy, stormy CEDH deck is there. I would just question the rule of law effect and probably replace those for things like back to basics instead.
So, again, not a CEDH player. Just a few things that I saw. There was one thing in here that we didn't talk about in our Ship It section, and that was Cloudsteel Kirin. I really do like this equipment card, and am now kicking myself because I did not put it in this deck that I built personally. And then this is just my take on this particular deck. It seems to be trying to do a lot and kind of misses everywhere.
Right. Like, it's got too many potential win cons.
Yeah.
And so it's like you almost lean into the one that you draw first, question mark, which doesn't feel amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want your deck to be fine-tuned for a specific thing and maybe have a backup, but this has like 3 backups.
Yeah. And I guess, and like, you're probably going to tell me I'm wrong. I'm prepared for that.
All right, what do you got?
I feel like Shorakai not doing vehicles doesn't really make sense in a Staxy deck. I understand the card draw. I see that. And I understand the token creation. But he's a 4-cost commander. He has to tap to do his ability. I just feel like there's better options. Like, I love that we're trying to elevate him and make him into a CEDH deck. I just think that what he does isn't this deck. And I'm honestly kind of confused about what this deck is. And maybe, like, what I just said about my LGS kind of like is reminiscent of this particular deck.
Sure.
And I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm really not. I don't know. Like, and I really, like, I feel bad, like, even saying this, because, like, let's be honest, I don't know what I'm doing half the time. Just watch my Twitter. You'll figure that out real quick.
Right.
I do love Ashnod's Altar. I do love Sensei's Divining Top. I understand all of the fast mana. That's great. I do think I thought I saw a my other favorite artifact. Where is it? Nope. Not in this deck.
Skull Clamp's in there.
Skull Clamp's in there. I saw that. Yeah, so I the land base is great. The fast mana is great. I see some very standard things that I know should be in these types of decks. I think that it aimed really high and it just missed the mark. And because of that, I think at a casual game, I would hate it. Which means it probably does what it's supposed to do relatively well, but at a CEDH table, I feel like it might get kind of lost in the sauce. So for that reason, I would rate this a 6.
I don't even know how to rate it.
And
well, and just rating decks in general, I think, is where I'm like,
You're
like
like,
what's the scale we're rating on effectiveness? It
so I would
probably
say
like
like an 8 or 9. So for an 8, for me, like a 5 or 6 is like, it obviously has pieces where it can win.
right,
Um, and especially in a casual table could probably win, but like it's not really doing what it looks like it's supposed to be doing, in my opinion. An 8 or a 9 obviously is one of those that is working, but still just barely missing. Like I'm being super nitpicky. A
right.
10, like I'm playing it, and I want to be playing it. Please buy me this deck. And I'd say anything below a 5 would be like, um, would be this just doesn't work. Like
Right.
it just doesn't work, and I'm never gonna rate something a 0 because again, like unless you're showing me a deck that's 100 lands, like if you're trying to make it something work, maybe those are the ones that I'd love to pull in for a deck doctor.
Sure.
But I feel like and it feels like nasty to be like, oh, this deck is just meh. But I think that it's also important to look at these types of decks because I think sometimes we get so lost in what we're trying to do, whether we're a talented deck builder, we're new to it, or we've been doing it for years. We get so lost in what we're trying to do. And then I know this happens to me personally where I'll end up with 120 cards and I still haven't, like, if you ask me what the deck is supposed to do, you could take out 20 cards and it's still not going to do that.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So for me, because I know where this deck is going, and
mhm.
you're right. I would say you're wrong about Shorikai if you're not leaning vehicles, because I think that ability to draw more cards than you discard is
Yeah.
really good, and those kinds of effects in competitive level play fetch a premium. And again, like I said, I mean, I have a 22-minute video that I need to finish editing and just post on YouTube and see how many people roast me. Um, but like this commander, like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh shit, Isochron, like the Isochron Scepter dramatic reversal combo. This is just infinite. You will draw your deck, you will net infinite mana more than
Yeah.
likely, and then you can win from there, which is the kind of thing you want in a competitive deck. You want that kind of combo piece in the command zone. So I do disagree that if you're building Shorikai and you're not building vehicles, you're wrong. Because I think if you're building Shorikai, you can absolutely build vehicles. And if you want to build combo, you can still build Shorikai and be
I just feel
Gucci.
like I didn't say that you had to build vehicles, just that I thought that there were options that were possibly better. And we do have a question. Does Shurikai make Rule of Law and those effects better?
For this specific build, because so I talk about it in the video that I haven't finished, but there's a combo with Lavinia Azorius Renegade, which is in this deck, and I love
Mm-hmm.
that card. It's a great Staxy piece because people can't use their free interaction for free, and they can't cast spells with mana cost more than the lands they control, which is pretty fucking big. Um, if you're not leaning into Lavinia super hard, so if you're not running, there's a combo with Knowledge Pool and Omen Machine with Lavinia where you completely lock people out. They don't draw cards, they cast the top card of their library for free without paying its mana cost, which then gets countered because of Lavinia. It's a complete stacks lock unless someone has something in hand and can answer it right away.
Yeah.
The problem with Rule of Law in this build is you're building around more than likely the Isochron Scepter outlet. So Isochron and Dramatic Reversal, you're going to untap all of your non-land permanents. You can then retap them. This includes mana rocks. So if you're running Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Arcane Signet, Soul Ring, etc., etc., you tap all your shit for mana, you tap Shorikai, you draw 2 cards, you discard 1, and then you cast or you copy the imprinted Dramatic Reversal under Isochron Scepter, you untap all your shit, and you rinse and repeat. You have infinite mana, you can draw your deck, you can win any given way. But you can't do that if you're limited to only being able to cast one spell per turn, which is what Archon of Emeria and Rule of Law do. The reason those cards see a lot of play in Staxy decks is because most decks that want to be able to play around them can. Winota is a prime example of where Rule of Law and Archon of Emeria are fantastic, because she's just going to cheat in the shit off the top of her library and smash you in the face with it. Whereas Shorakai doesn't really have the ability to do that through a Rule of Law, because you're going to want to keep that ISO-Rev combo going back and forth, and you can't do that with Rule of Law effects. And I brought it up to the owner of this deck when we first started theory crafting it and tuning it, and there's a couple things they've got now to address that. I still don't think it's enough, and I still think the Rule of Law pieces are questionable when you could run other stacks pieces like Back to Basics instead.
Yep.
So.
All right. So that's Shorakai, CEDH. Yep. The next one, we've got Chulane.
Ooh, good old Chulane deck.
Yeah. One of my best friends runs Chulane, and it's disgusting. It's bad enough that he has to play it once a night, and then that's no more Chulane.
Tulane's just stupid. I think he's the prime example of a commander that I don't think should have been printed, because he just does everything and pays you off for just playing the game.
So I noticed right away that this particular deck has 22 persistent petitioners.
Yeah, so he's going for a mill theme.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I tried building a persistent petitioners deck and just never got it to work the way I wanted it to.
So Chulane, when you cast a creature, draw a card, then you can put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So obviously that works really well with anything blue-green, because it all has all the land stuff. He also put in Beast Whisper, so if you cast a creature spell, you draw a card. So if you cast a creature and your commander's out, you're drawing 2 cards. Then you've got...
I see Tatiova in there. So if you drop a land, all of a sudden you
draw a card. So basically this is a continuous pull out petitioners and then mill everybody else out.
Yep.
Got it. And if an opponent would mill, they would mill twice. Got it. Cool. Love this for someone else, not myself.
I was about to say, do you love it though?
For each creature.
Oh, hey, do you want to make it unlisted really quick so I can pop the link?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is listed.
Sweet.
Doubling chance. So for each creature, you can put a creature with the same name as that creature. It's funny because this is definitely not usually a commander card, but because of the persistent petitioners, it works. Dusk Till Dawn, destroy creatures with power 3 or greater. Mass Appeal, draw a card for each human. Jeez. A Pack Hunt, which again, not usually used in commander, but persistent petitioners makes it work.
Yep. Mass Appeal I really like. Draw a card for each human you control. I've actually been trying to find a deck to build just like humans, like blue humans. Of course, go figure, Chulane would be the best creature.
Would be the best commander for that.
Yeah.
You're like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Ooh, Thrumming Stone, Ripple 4.
Yeah, Thrumming Stone's like an auto include for these kinds of decks, whether it's Dragon's Approach or Relentless Rats, Persistent Petitioners. Very solid.
I hate this deck.
I hate your deck.
I hate your deck. Hey, that's something I know.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to be honest. This deck, I think, is very good.
Oh, yeah. So they're running the Alarin and Intruder Alarm combo, which Alarin lets you cast creatures with CMC 3 or less for free.
Yeah.
Intruder Alarm untaps all your creatures when a creature ETBs. I
Yeah.
was almost questioning the ramp package until I got to the artifact section and I realized they're running a lot of the fast mana.
Yeah.
So you've got Crypt, Soul Ring, all of your signets. That's kind of it, and I don't know if that's enough. We have a
Well,
5 mana commander and no mana dorks. We have no like 2 or 3 mana ramp spells aside from our artifacts. It feels like so Chulane is another commander that is on the CEDH decklist database. You can
yeah.
absolutely build a competitive Chulane deck. This feels like because you're running 2 known combo pieces, you're running Intruder Alarm and Alarin, this does feel like it is approaching that level, but it's not there yet.
I think what the end goal here is basically just to
Oh, it's mill, yeah.
well, I mean,
It's
obviously it's mill, but I think
Yeah.
really what they're like, why they don't have a huge ramp package that you love, and I actually think it's fine the way that it is, which is where we're going to disagree, is that everything that it does is going to be drawing more and then breaking it down into a drawing and then being able to free put lands onto the battlefield. So their ramp package really is just that they are going to put them in for free.
Right.
So
But you've only got
obviously
5 pieces of ramp, and not only is your commander 5 mana, but your big splashy thrumming stone that's going to get you more persistent petitioners, it's also 5 mana. So yes, I am going to disagree with you, but
I
continue.
know. I mean, that's how that's how it goes with us. I do think it's interesting that as a blue player, I don't see any counters
Yeah.
in this deck at all.
And why the fog? Like,
Prevent
aside
all
from-
combat damage.
I mean, obviously, I get why you have the fog. You're going to land 3 or 4 persistent petitioners, and then people are going to be like, no, fuck that shit, and try and kill you.
Yeah.
So I understand the fog, but you only have 2 fogs. And you don't have any way of recurring your fogs. So you're not running like Archaeomancer would be a good potential include. Like, this deck feels like the whole point is to turbo out Chulane and then find either Alarin or Intruder Alarm and just start dumping your hand, which is fine. I just don't know if it does it fast enough
Well,
with what I'm seeing.
I'm also interested in why God Eternal Oketra, and maybe did you say that's a combo piece?
No. I mean, whenever you cast a creature spell, create a 4/4 zombie.
I mean, that's not bad, but I don't think it's the goal of the deck.
Yeah, at that point, you're literally just cast persistent, create a 4/4, cast persistent, create a 4/4. Like, which, I mean, for that, if you're paying 2 mana to create, a 4/4
because vigilant
beater.
4/4s kill people, sure, but vigilant 4 advisors is 12 cards. So I don't know. I feel like
Yeah, the Intruder Alarm synergy is a real thing too, because you'll get the cast trigger, you'll create the zombie will enter first, untap all your petitioners, you can tap your petitioners in response.
Yeah, it is.
And then the petitioner that you cast will enter.
I got you. It's a combo.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair. The mana value is super low, 1.9 with lands, 2.89 without lands. It looks like they're relatively even on their mana color,
which is very interesting for.
Yeah.
They're technically, because of all the persistent petitioners, they're a little low on blue, but
yeah,
because the petitioners
super
are 2 mana, so realistically it's not hard to just.
So play testing, dealing hand. We got 2 lands, no lands, 3 lands. No, that was 4 lands, 2 lands. Yeah, it feels. I mean,
how's that ramp package working out for you?
Huh. I think you're right. It feels a little low on blue. And I do really like this one. I'm going to rate it an 8. And this is why. It's because, so I rated yours a 9. I know yours works. I know yours should win. I think yours is right there. I think this one is really good, and I would hate to see it, but it feels weak to any clapback, even with the token creation, because it doesn't have any counter spells. It doesn't have a ramp package. It feels... I see what it's trying to do, and I am scared of what it's trying to do. I think it's really good. I think I would murder this so fucking fast that I wouldn't get to do any of this, because I would, if I could figure out, you bring out one of those petitioners and I figure out what you're trying to do, you're not getting another one if I can help it.
Emmett says this is the fairest Chulane deck, 10 out of 10. And I would just like to share my own Chulane Crab Tribal deck, which is more fair, if you ask me.
We're not gonna rate your Chulane Crab Tribal.
No, but I'm gonna list it in chat and let people be like, why are you building Crab Tribal? And the answer is because I can.
The next deck is a Curious Combo deck, and its commanders have Brawlin and Shabraz.
Yeah, I can see where this is going.
Also, sharks should not fucking fly.
Yes, they should.
No.
Hey, I've seen several movies, okay? It's
Sharks in the Sky.
Man, so this is a deck. So just by looking at the land count, we got 29 lands. We have Dockside, Esper Sentinel. I mean, this looks like a CEDH deck or a take on one if I've ever seen it.
Trying to be one.
Yep,
it's got Ragavan.
Sure. Yeah, this is definitely working towards being a competitive deck.
It's got 14 creatures. I have not seen something with 14 creatures ever.
Yeah, no, almost all CEDH decks run, like my Kroxa deck runs a 12, I think, and that's considered a farm deck. So
that is really sad.
I mean, that's kind of the name of the game though, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole point is to do other things other than have like a couple of value creatures, you know?
Yeah, on the other hand, this one has several counter spells. I'm interested in why it's not running the standard counter spell.
Because Mana Drain is better, is the same number of pips, and you really need your interaction to be as low color or free costed as possible. Mana Drain makes the cut over Counterspell because it will always net you some form of mana.
But Mana Drain isn't the only counter spell.
No, but like for blue,
yeah.
Mana Drain over Counterspell, especially in competitive, which, I mean, this guy's running Intuition, Force of Will, Pact of Negation, Fierce Guardianship, Deflecting Swat. I mean, this is, look at his artifact package. Lion's Eye Diamond, Mana Crypt, Mox Diamond. This is for sure a take on a CEDH deck. I would die on this hill, 100%. Yeah, Gilded Drake. Gilded Drake almost never sees casual or play in casual because it's an extremely salty card. Guaranteed, this is a take on a CEDH deck.
I gotcha. Let's see. So we've got Curiosity, Mystic Remora. I haven't seen a lot of these cards in play.
Yeah, that's because you don't play CEDH very much.
I've played it once.
Yeah, you played it once.
CEDH Crab deck. Non-CEDH decks run Misstep, I think.
Yeah, no non-CEDH decks run Misstep. And I would honestly agree, because almost nobody in casual is going to counter your Soul Ring, you know?
Right.
It's the smart thing to do, but no one's going to do it.
Because we're nice.
Yeah, more or less. You're not playing to win.
So as a CEDH deck, what do you think about it?
Yeah, so I'm having a hard time finding really I haven't played a wheels deck in CEDH. I have one goldfished for Riel. Or I have a list curated. This seems pretty good. It's running, I mean, a very standard package of like Esper Sentinel, Ragavan, Dockside, Grand Abolisher. It's running Glinthorn Buccaneer, which automatically combos with things like Curiosity, because you can just discard a card, and then Curiosity makes it so you draw a card, and then Glinthorn is just gonna deal damage, and then you're gonna draw a card, and it's a really, really good. Seems like a pretty solid combo going on here. It's got the right tutors. It's got the same intuition package that I saw Fitz use last night on Sylvan Scholars against us, where you tutor for Savine's Reclamation, Lion's Eye Diamond, and Underworld Breach. And at that point, as long as you have at least 2 extra open mana, you just win the game, more or less, unless someone counters your shit. It's got a good interaction package. It's got a good tutor package. I don't really see anything quote unquote wrong with this list, except for maybe not running Time Twister. Like, you're running Windfall, but you're not running Time Twister seems suboptimal. And if you're playing CEDH, I'm guilty of it too. Like, you should. I mean, if you're playing CEDH, the CEDH community is extremely proxy friendly. I'm weird. I don't like proxying things that I don't own. However, I know I should. I would run Time Twister over Windfall 24 times, 24/7. The only argument against it, I mean, if you've got Narset in play, it's game over. And I know Time Twister technically doesn't combo with your discard payoffs like Brawlin and Glinthorn. So it's kind of a non-bow, but I don't know. Like I said, I don't play wheel decks in competitive at the moment. I have yet to actually play one, so I'm not 100% sure if playing Time Twister over Windfall is the right call. It's just, I feel like Time Twister is one of those cards where when you wheel early in the game and you really fuck up your opponents, because usually in CDH you're mulliganing down to like 5 or 6 to get a keepable, playable, ready to rock and roll hand. And when someone wheels on turn 2 and completely just fucks that sideways, I've seen people keep turn 1 almost about to win hands and see someone wheel on turn 1, and then that player never plays a spell the rest of the game. Like they get 1 land and none of their mana rocks, and they're just really stuck grinding into a game. So, and Time Twister basically does the same thing. So, that being said, everything here looks pretty fucking solid. Like, I would have a hard time saying that this deck doesn't do what it is designed to do, because it looks like it will do everything that it is designed to do.
So you have to give it a number.
I would play the shit out of this. 9.5 out of 10 minus. Okay. There's probably 1 or 2 very, very small changes I would make, and they are literally like Time Twister and maybe something. I mean, I personally don't like. Is he running it? No, he's not running it, or they're not running City of Traders. So never mind. Yeah, I see no reason that this deck wouldn't sit at a CDH table and do everything it wants to do. So easy 9.5.
Alrighty then. And then I think we have time for one more. So do you want to do Hold My Red, Karazakar, or Voice of History?
Ooh. Let's do the Voice of History, because I have never seen a Niambi deck in the wild.
All right, well, here she is. She's ready for you to refresh and find her.
Let's do it.
Seen a lot of Teferis today.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what Oh, this is the other Niambi. Ooh, okay, okay. So Flash, ETB, return another creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, you gain life equal to that creature's CMC. Man, yeah, so I have like no idea what I'm looking at with this deck, but I kind of like it. Like it's running Yorion, it's running Azor, it's running
Yeah.
Nezahal. Like this is a fucking big splashy deck, and I'm kind of all about it. I would be down.
I love
to play this.
Nezahal, I'll be honest.
Nezahal's so cool. I fucking love that card.
Mole Drifter.
Yeah, they're running Shorikai in the 99, which is just good value artifact. Ramp package, so we've got Soul Ring, we've got our Signets, Talisman, and Thought Vessel. Seems a little low. So we're only running 5 pieces of ramp, 1 cost reducer. I guess the Celestis too. So 6 ramp pieces and a cost reducer. Seems a touch low in my opinion. I could be wrong. Especially because almost all of our like good value creatures we're looking at 4, 5, 6 plus CMC, you know.
They do have a draw spell. They have Teferi, but he's 4 cost, but he draws discards.
Yeah. He's a looter. Faithful Mending's a looter.
Yeah.
I really like that disorder in the court. X white blue, exile target X target creatures, investigate X times, return the exiled cards to the battlefield tapped. That's pretty slick.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean the curve seems a little high. So our curve is right at 3.75 without lands, which we're only running 35 lands and we've got 6 pieces of ramp. Like I said, my only fear with this deck would strictly be like you've got a lot of 4, 5, 6 plus mana spells. How frequently and on curve are we casting them? You know, seems questionable.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I do like it.
Soldier.
This is a pretty cool deck.
I'm also trying to figure out. So they've got Limvala, right? But it doesn't look like they have anywhere to get a full party. I'm looking. So it's Rogue, Wizard, Warrior.
I think so. The big thing with Linvala is not so much the party thing, but being able to sacrifice her and give everything you control either hexproof or indestructible.
Is that
because at that point it's like a pseudo Teferi's protection? You know? Which they are running Eerie Interlude, which is a card I absolutely love, and then of course that Disorder in the Court. So you've got a lot of these blinky kind of effects. Cloud Shift, Ephemerate, you can blink things like your Restoration Angel and your Yorion, Sky Nomad. So you can kind of just like start blinking your good value creatures to blink more value creatures.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like the look of this deck. I am a little hesitant just based off of our ramp package and our relatively high curve.
Yeah. It looks like too, like I was looking at the, where is he? Tameshi, Reality Architect.
Yep.
So you draw a card, and again, I don't like to discard, but it looks like if they draw too much, they're going to be discarding. And especially like knowing what you said, they don't have a huge ramp package. They're starting to pick things up, and then the chances that they might not be able to play everything again if they needed to is kind of concerning.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that we aren't seeing anything along the lines of like some of the white creatures that have been printed recently that'll go grab you basic lands when they enter, or if an opponent controls more lands than you, like those are really good flicker targets, especially in the early game. Like yeah, in the late game
Yeah.
they don't do as much because chances are you've flickered them so much that you have more lands than a green player. But the fact that we aren't seeing those is pretty interesting to me too, because how else? Yeah,
Yeah.
just like I said, that ramp package. I almost always run minimum of 9 or 10 pieces of ramp, depending on the deck. Like Gishath and Omnath both run 14, 15 pieces of ramp because one's a landfall deck and the other has an 8 mana commander that needs to come out swinging. So
Right. Well, I think
Then
I'm
again-
gonna. I think I'm gonna give this one a 7. And it
One-
might be a low number just because I'm not sure what it's doing.
right. So one thing I did just think of, and this could be where I might be misevaluating the deck with Niambi. So she's a 2 mana commander. So she comes in turn 2. You can flash it in that way on turn 3 when you make your land drop. You can pay the 3 mana, discard a legendary card. And if we look at our list, we're running a fuck ton of legendary cards, which is cool because we discard a legendary. Say we discard Linvala, right?
Yeah.
We're going to draw 2 cards. But with cards like Tameshi, we can actually turn excess cards or excess lands in hand and recur some of these value legendaries that we discard. Like if we discard Fibbleflip the Lost, we can just pay 3 mana, bounce a land, and then return him to the battlefield with Tameshi. It's actually Tameshi's strictly artifacts or enchantments.
Can you
Never
say
mind.
Flibblethip again?
Fibble? Fuck. Fibblethip? I don't fucking know.
You said
That
it
guy.
so well the first time. I just wanted to see if you were going to do it again.
Yeah, no, I fucking botched it. So I don't know. I mean, there is something to be said there. Turn 2, play your land. Turn 2, flash in Niambi. Turn 3, discard a card that you don't need to draw more cards. That kind of ensures that you have the gas to keep making your land drops. I mean, that's always a potential thing. That's something that I overlook a lot. Is in theory, you could run a much smaller ramp package with a much larger draw package, and having a draw engine in the command zone is very valuable for that reason. So, yeah, I would say, I mean, the deck for me, I'm still stuck in my ways of wanting like 3 or 4 more artifacts,
Yeah.
right? Like 3 or 4 more pieces of ramp to really get us in the game. Maybe an additional land, strictly because if you're in that 34 to 35 range, I almost always get mana screwed or mana. I seem to always get mana screwed with like 34 lands. I like running 36 to 37 is my happy number. It's what I aim for all my decks.
Right.
Unless my mana curve is like 2. If I have a mana curve of 2, I'll run 34 lands because I can cast everything by turn 2. So
Fair.
I would say for me, this deck, I like it now that I'm like reevaluating what exactly Niambi does and sitting in the command zone like that. Give it a solid probably 7.5 or 8 because now that I'm seeing some of the synergy in the pieces, I think it's got potential.
That's fair.
I'd run it.
You'd run it. I'd run just about
run it.
anything. I think this
Fuck
one's
yeah.
a little too complicated for my ADHD brain. I'd be like, all right, how many triggers am I going to miss this game?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Are we ready for the fun of this episode?
Oh, lordy. I don't know. Are we?
Are we? Are we? Because it's time for the Thunderdome. Bum, bum, bum. Trenton, you look scared.
God damn.
So
I'm just getting smashed.
we are here. We're we're gonna play our decks. Do you want to talk about our decks before we play them, or do we want to play them and let them see them?
Sure. Yeah, we can play them.
Okay.
So mine's pretty straightforward. I'm playing Satsuki, the Living Lore. I was super hyped about this commander when I pulled her because I ended up pulling her alternate frame, which is super freaking gorgeous. In fact, just because it's in here somewhere, I'm gonna. Yeah.
Hey, beautiful.
So I was super stoked about Satsuki because I think fucking sagas are really neat. And like I said earlier, I think all of our sagas that are in this set, the fact that they come back as creatures once they're done being sagas helps capitalize on a lower creature count. What I don't like about Satsuki after playtesting her is it's just a very weak Sithis deck. And I think Sithis has draw cards stapled onto her, so it's kind of hard to argue with the power there.
Yeah.
There weren't enough good quote unquote sagas to run with Satsuki. I am running like 15 or 16 sagas, so it's a decent amount, but it's not enough to really capitalize on her ability to constantly tap and put counters on her.
Yeah.
Or put more lore counters on them. The fact that you can only activate her as a sorcery is kind of a bummer, so you can't make it so your sagas will exile then come back as creatures right before your next turn, so they have pseudo haste. That's kind of a bummer. And the fact that she has a death trigger, I haven't been able to break it in Selesnya colors. Like, you can borderline combo with her with Gift of Immortality, which I am running in here, but there's no good way to just sacrifice her at will unless you're running like Ashnod's Altar or something along those lines, which I'm not. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. It's not a good deck per se. I think it's fun. It's got some flavor. It still draws me cards, which is something I love doing. But I definitely think that she is just a step below or a couple steps below power as in comparison to Sithis.
Fair. All right. So you already looked at your hand because it does that automatically. So
Yep.
we'll just say high roll goes first.
Yeah, in fact, I'm gonna mulligan this one away, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a way to dice roll on that, or
I do actually.
awesome? 2 6s or 120 or what?
I can roll a single d6.
Okay. Single d6 it is.
God damn.
I have a 3.
All right, this I can keep this. Okay. Rolling. So it looks like I rolled a 5.
Well, then you are on the play, my friend, and
All
I
right,
will look
on
at
the
my
play.
hand to see if I'm keeping.
Okay.
Oh fuck. I will keep.
Uh-oh. All right, here goes nothing. So I go first, which means I will not be drawing a card.
Yeah.
I will play a plains and pass.
All right. I will switch this because I know how to do that. Will it switch automatically? I wish it would switch automatically. Let me see if I put it here. Does it switch automatically? Nope. I'm just going to have to do it manually. That's okay. I will draw. I will play this card, which is a Swampy Swamp.
Swampity Swamp?
Swampity Swamp. Then I will play a Soul Ring. And then I will play a Lotus Bloom.
Damn. Okay. Now I see why you're keeping it.
I'm sorry. And I will pass my turn.
All right. I will move to next. Play a Sun Petal Grove. Pay 2. Cast Satsuki. Pass the turn.
Sounds good. I forgot to go to your face, but it's fine. I will untap. I'm going to have to like trigger myself on end. Okay. I will play a Cathedral of War.
Okay.
I am going to tap 1, 2, and have one floating to play Blade of the Oni. And my floating will go to Prime Blade, and then I will pass my turn, and I'll even click on your face.
All right, draw for turn. Yeah, I was worried about this. Fuck. Yeah, my first 2 hands were nothing but lands, and this one I kept a 2-lander, and I'm gonna pay for it. I will pass.
Oh no.
Yep.
That's very sad. Okay. We did say that if any one of us won in the first 5 turns or so, 5 minutes, 5 turns, same thing, that we would do another game. So if anybody was concerned about that. I will tap 1, 2, 3, and 4 and play Giraport Orrery. So maybe this will help you, Trent. And soon. Maybe. And then I will swing with my blade for 3.
Yep. I take Trace.
And I'll pass.
All right. Fuck.
Hi, sorry.
Oh shit. Actually, on your end step.
Mm-hmm.
Can I do this? It doesn't fucking matter. Yeah, I will move to end step and discard. I guess I don't have to discard. What can I do? Yeah, I will swing at you for 1. Haha. Commander damage. Take it.
All right, I'll take it.
Yeah. And then I will pay 2, and I will channel Touch the Spirit Realm. So I'm going to discard it, and then exile Satsuki until the beginning of the next end step, and then she'll enter the battlefield again.
Okay.
So I'll pass over to you.
I will untap. This will come off. I now have a Lotus Bloom. I will draw. I'm going to play Labyrinth of Scophos as my land for turn. And then I have to think about my life decisions. Okay. All right. We are going to tap and sack for 3 red mana. I'm going to use that to play Jeska's Will. I'm assuming you have 7 cards in hand?
Sure do.
Cool. I am going to use 3. I'm going to use 6 of it to play both Bronze Plate Boar and Peerless Samurai.
Okay.
And then I am going to equip my Blade of the Oni with the Prying Blade.
Okay.
And that leaves me with 3. Can't do anything with that. So I will swing for 4.
Yep, I take 4.
And I create a treasure. And I will pass my turn.
Come on, land. Nope. However, pay 2. I will cast a Machiko's Reign of Truth. First lore counter. So Satsuki will get +1/+1 for each artifact or enchantment I control, which is just 1. So she's a 2/4. I guess the boar is a 3/2. How big is Peerless? A 2/3? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you can double block and kill her. Yeah, don't know if it's really worth attacking. Uh, man, no lands. Yeah, I guess I'll swing. Nah, I'll hold up a blocker though. Doesn't matter. No. Yeah, fuck it. Swing with a 2/4.
I'll take 2.
All right, and that'll be a pass.
All right. Untap. I don't have any cards in hand, so I'll draw 3. I am going to tap 2 to play Sword of Hours. I'm going to tap another 2 to equip it to my Blade of the Oni. I will then swing with my Blade of the Oni.
Take another 3. 4.
Hold on. I gotta
Oh yeah, the sword.
put a 1/1 counter on it. And then I forgot about Cathedral of War, so he's actually exalted. So
Okay.
he's 4, 5, and then 6. So I will then create another treasure. And when he deals combat damage, I roll a d12, which I don't even think I have a d12, so I'm going to roll 2d6 if that's okay.
Sure.
I don't know what a d12's difference would be, but... Okay, if the result is greater than the damage dealt or the result is 12, I double the number of 1/1 counters. It's not greater, it's the same, so nothing happens.
So I take.
Yeah, you take 6. Then
down to
I'm going
17.
to tap this, and my 2 treasures are going to go away, and I'll cast Ishin. 2 heavens is 1.
Sweet.
And I'll pass my turn.
All right. There's the land. Probably a little too late. Second lore counter on Machiko. I'll make it so Satsuki gets another +1/+1, though that doesn't matter. I think at this point I need blockers. How do I want to do this? We'll see if I can get one more turn. I'm going to cast an Enchantress's Presence.
Okay,
So whenever I cast an enchantment spell, I get to draw a card.
I gotcha.
I will tap Satsuki, put a counter on the Reign of Truth, which will be its final counter. It'll exile and come back as Portrait of Machiko.
Yep.
And at the moment, I have 2 enchantments, so it's just a 2/2.
Sounds good.
And ship it over to you.
Okay. I will untap. I'll click back on my face. There we go. I will draw. Okay. I will go straight to combat.
Yep.
So it'll be 6 again.
Yeah, no blocks, so I will for sure be taking 6.
Okay, so I do have Ishin's ability.
Ooh, so it'll technically be 7 because the Exalted trigger is going to be
Yeah.
doubled.
Well, yeah, when it attacks, it'll be doubled, so that means it's going to get that many. So it's a 6, 7, 8.
So it's 8.
Yep.
So I'll go down to 9.
Okay, and then I get 2 treasures off that. And then
Do you? Because Prying Blade is just off of damage. It's not an attack trigger.
Yep, you're right. 1 treasure. That's fine. And I will roll my 2d6s. That is not more than 8, so I don't get to double my counters. And then I'm going to use my treasure and 3 to play Heiko Yamazaki the General.
Nice.
Whenever a samurai or warrior I control attacks alone, I may cast target artifact card from my graveyard this turn. Okay. And I will go ahead and equip my Sword of Hours to Heiko.
Okay.
And then I will pass my turn.
All right. Draw. Think my best bet is move to cast an Armadillo Cloak, which will draw me a card off of Enchantress's Presence.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to enchant Portrait of Machiko with it. So she's going to get +2/+2 trample and lifelink.
Okay.
Plus she'll get an additional 1 for being
Another
or
enchantment.
Another enchantment. I'll then play a Temple of Plenty, enters tapped. I scry. I don't think it's gonna matter, so I will keep that there and swing with a 5/5 trample lifelink.
I'll take 5.
Okay, I will gain 5 and pass the turn.
Okay. Untap. Draw. Okay. I'm going to tap 3 for Haunted Cloak.
Seems good.
Yeah. I'm going to tap 2 to move my Prying Blade over. And then that makes him a 4/3. So I will go ahead and swing with him. When he attacks, I put 2/1/1 counters on him. So now he's a 6/5.
Yep, I will. I'll take the 6.
And then whenever they attack alone, I can cast a target artifact card from my graveyard. I have the Lotus Bloom, so I'll cast it, right?
Yep. Yep.
Does it suspend or does it cast?
No, you can only suspend from your hand.
Okay. So it's cast.
Yep.
Cool. So
Ooh, maybe not, because it doesn't say you may cast it without paying its mana cost, and it technically doesn't have a mana cost. Its mana cost is null. I don't know if you can actually cast Lotus Bloom with Heiko.
Okay. Do you want to find that rolling?
I'll see if I can, yeah. Cast Lotus Bloom Graveyard. Yeah, so Lotus Bloom doesn't have a mana cost, and Heiko doesn't provide an alternative cost, for example, without paying its mana cost, and you can't pay a null mana cost.
Okay. No worries. Okay. That being said, I am then going to do... I am going to do nothing. I will pass my turn.
Alrighty. I knew what I was going to draw. Does it help, though? Let's find out. I will pay too much. I will cast a Battle for Bredagard.
Yep.
Which will trigger. I'll draw a card. When it enters, I'm gonna create a 1/1 human warrior,
A chump play.
and yep, Michiko's gonna get bigger. I'm gonna tap Satsuki to add an additional counter on it and create a 1/1 elf warrior. So now Michiko's a 6/6. I was really hoping to draw a land. Let's move this over just a touch. Yeah, move to combat, swing a 6/6, trample lifelink at you.
Hmm.
Thinking and thinking and thinking.
Yep, I'm thinking. I'll take 6.
Take 6, I gain 6. And I probably die next turn, but that's okay. I will ship it.
Okay. There's a very big black dog on that screen.
Oh, mine?
Yep, and I want to give him the floofy love and boop his snoot.
It's a she.
I still want to boop her snoot.
That's fair. She's got surgery next week.
Aw. I will draw. I'm going to play Black Blade Reforged.
Gross.
Yeah. Ba-da-ba-ba. We'll go ahead and equip it to Heiko.
Yep. Seems good.
And then I will sack my treasure to also equip the Haunted Cloak.
Yep, also seems good.
I felt good. All right, so now.
So the Black Blade is giving her +3/+3, is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm making this work with 3 land. So she's got Vigilance, Trample, Haste, +3/+3, +4, +5, +7, and she's a 3/3, so she's a 10/9 with Trample. And
Seems
Vigilance.
Yep.
Yep.
That'll get 2 counters, so she'll be a 12/11.
Yep. So she's going to swing. She's going to get her 2 counters. So 12/11, and she has Trample. So how would you like to deal with that?
I will declare no blockers.
Okay. So she'll create her treasure.
Yep. I'll go down to 2.
We will try to roll for 12. I don't see that happening, but nope, we got 5. And then, so treasure, we did that one, we did that one. We can't cast from the graveyard because we already learned that. Equipped land, vigilance, okay, nothing. No, it does make something cheaper to cast, but I can't do anything. So with Peerless Samurai, does it make the next spell 2 cheaper to cast, or does it make the next 2 spells 1 cheaper to cast?
It'll be 2 cheaper for the next 1 spell.
Oh, cool. Let's Chaos Warp your Michiko.
No.
Yes.
All right. So that goes to graveyard. That goes to library. Shuffle. Top card is a Silent Sentinel.
Nah. All right.
Dope.
A flyer, huh?
4/6, and whenever it attacks, I may return target enchantment card from my graveyard to the battlefield.
Well, that's a problem. I will pass my turn.
All right. I will go to next. Trigger Battle for Bedegard. It'll go to the graveyard, and I'll create a token copy or choose any number of artifact tokens and or creature tokens I control with different names. For each of them, create a token that's a copy of it.
Okay.
So I will create a token copy of my human warrior and my elf warrior.
Sounds good.
So I have one of each are sick, so I will stack them as such. Silent Sentinel came in last turn thanks to Chaos Warp, so they are not sick. I'll play a Plains.
Look at you getting all your mana finally.
Man, if only I could cast this. Okay, so I think what I will do is the smart thing.
Why would you want to do the smart thing, Trenton?
Because I would like to live, question mark. All right. I'm going to move to attack, and I will attack. Actually, how do I want to do this? Yeah, I think this is actually a good play. 1, 2, 3. I will cast a Setessan Champion. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under my control, put a 1/1 counter on Setessan Champion and draw a card.
Sounds good. Feels good.
I will then move to combat and attack you with Silent Sentinel. 4/6 in the air. On attack, I get to return an enchantment from my graveyard to the battlefield.
Yep.
And I'm going to choose Touch the Spirit Realm. And I'm going to exile Heiko. Until Touch the Spirit Realm leaves the battlefield, which will trigger Setessan Champion. He'll get a counter, or she'll get a counter, and I will draw a card. And I will see if I can survive. I don't know if I live through next turn, but I'm gonna try. So let's go. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. I untap. I draw. I'll play Haunted Ridge untapped. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to equip my Peerless Samurai with my Blade of the Oni.
Yeah, which makes it a 5/5, right?
It makes it a 5/5 Menace and Black Demon.
Okay.
And then what do I want most? Well, I don't need Vigilance, but I do like Trample. Alright. I think we go with the Sword of Hours. All right. And then I will go to combat. And I will swing with my 5/5 Menace demon. When he attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it, but we'll put 2. So he becomes a 7/7 Menace demon.
No flying, no trample.
No flying, no trample.
I will chump with a human warrior and an elf warrior.
Okay, so it says whenever he deals combat damage, not to. It doesn't say to a player, so I still
Yep.
roll.
Yep. Which sucks, but
And that is that many, which is more
yep.
than
So
7. So he
yep.
goes up to 4.
Nice.
And then I pass my turn.
Alrighty. I will next. I'll play a plains. Okay. How do I want to do this? I think I will pay 1 in a green, and I will cast a Nylea's Presence. Trigger Enchantress's Presence, and I will draw a card. I will enchant this plains with Nylea's Presence. When it ETBs, I will draw a card. And now Enchanted Land is every basic land, in addition to its other types. I will pay a white, a green, and 1 additional. I will, oh yeah, and then trigger Setessan Champion. He'll get a 1/1 counter, and I will draw a card. So I'll pay 3. I will cast an Unflinching Courage, targeting Setessan Champion. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has trample and lifelink.
Okay.
Trigger Enchantress's Presence. I'll draw a card. On ETB, trigger Setessan. He'll get a counter, and I'll draw a card. I wish I could discard these now. I will move to combat, swing at you with Silent Sentinel and Setessan Champion.
How big is the Tessin?
On attacks, I will get an enchantment from my graveyard to the battlefield back, and I will give it to the Armadillo Cloak. So he will also, or the Silent Sentinel Armadillo Cloak. So he'll also get 2/2 lifelink trample. Setessan is, well, that'll trigger him. So he'll get a 1/1 counter, and I'll draw a card. He is going to be a 4, 5, 6, 7. He's a 7/9.
Okay.
Trample trample lifelink, and then Silent Sentinel is a 6/8 trample lifelink.
So I will take 13.
Take 13, I gain 13.
How the tides have turned.
Yeah, not gonna lie, that Chaos Warp is the only thing that kept me alive.
Dang it.
That being said, that is all I've got. I will pass the turn over to you. I do have to discard, so I will be discarding a Nylea's Colossus, a Triumph of Gerard, an Idyllic Tutor, and a Fall of the Thran.
Nice. All right. We'll untap and draw. We'll play Thriving Heath, and I will choose, let's see, I will choose a Swamp. Black is the other color for that. And then we are going to go ahead and equip some things on my dude. So,
Do it.
First, 3 to give him the Black Blade.
Yep.
Which makes him +1, 2.
No, he's not legendary, so you have to pay 7, right?
Damn it. All right. No blade. 1 to get put on Haunted Cloak. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to put on the Bronze Plate Boar and give him +3/+2 and trample.
Not that you needed it with the frickin' Haunted Cloak.
Yeah. Double trample.
Yeah, double trample.
Okay.
Although,
so
yeah, now how big is it? That's the question.
6. So he's a 5/5 +4 is 9. +3 is 12. And then the 1 for here, we will make him 13.
Damn.
and then he's going to get 2 more when he attacks. So he's going to attack you,
Yep.
and then he gets 2 more. So that happens automatically.
So total of 15, right?
Yeah, 15 trample.
All right. I will block with everything, which is a total of 5.
Okay. So you'll
So
take 10.
I will take 10,
And
going
then
down to 5.
we'll roll our 2d6.
And then Satsuki is going to trigger when she dies. I can return target saga or enchantment creature I control to my owner's hand. Or I can return a saga from my graveyard to my hand. And I
Okay.
will choose to return a saga from my graveyard to my
You still have the thing
hand.
that's holding my Heiko hostage, right?
Correct.
Okay. Cool.
I will return Battle for Bredegard to my hand.
Got it. And then I will pass.
All right, go to next. I'll play a forest. And let's see. I will pay a green, cast a wild growth,
Okay.
enchanting this plains, I guess.
It doesn't really matter. You've got it.
You have no tricks up your sleeve.
No, I'm tapped out and no flyers.
All right, double draw. Yeah, I guess move to combat, swing out.
You got it. Good game.
Good game. I legit was like missing those land drops 3 turns in a row.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck.
I mean, obviously, I had the same problem. Missed some land drops and was kind of like stuck in the stuck not being able to quite do enough. I think there was 1 or 2 times where when I looked at it after the fact, I was like, I should have just swung out, because even though I was missing the +1 trigger, like I would have done enough damage to kill you. But I was really stuck on the like, I'm only supposed to swing with 1. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, no, that deck is super gross. Ishin is super powerful. Like,
Yeah.
well,
and the fact
like
that
I
I was
Juan
doing
has a
so
build.
much. I was doing so much with 4 mana for so long.
Yeah. Juan has a build with Olivia from Midnight Vow.
Yeah.
And with
Midnight Vow.
Itali.
Crimson Vow.
Or Crimson Vow, yeah, same
Yeah.
difference. And with Itali, and I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, that's so gross. Exile 2 cards, reanimate 2 things.
I saw Itali as an option, and I was just like, I feel like that would be too mean.
I mean, it's mean, but in a very powerful, like, I can start ending the game pretty quickly kind of mean,
absolutely.
like, which I think is good. Like, we'll talk about it here in our little the scoop.
The scoop.
But,
so we want to go to the scoop. We're going to talk about magic stuff.
Yeah, let's move her on over.
Let's move on to the scoop. So, not talking about anything that happened on Twitter lately.
Yeah, no shit, right?
We're gonna talk about some things that have been bothering us or have come up recently in the last couple weeks on the Magic world, and one of the biggest ones is assessing threats, an actual threat versus an emotional threat. Another one, there was a really great article about stacks versus tax, and I don't think we're gonna beat that horse too much, but we're definitely gonna refer to the article, and like there is a difference. And then finally, we're going to talk about etiquette. And I think the last one is the most important, just because, especially when you're playing at the higher levels of casual play, I find that you have a lot of people who tend to be angrier, saltier, more easily frustrated. And I kind of originally thought that that was like how it was supposed to be, until I started listening to CEDH players who don't get angry, because that takes us right back to our first point, properly assessing threats. So let's get into it.
Threat assessment. So do you want to lead the conversation, or?
Okay. Let's be honest. we all know that game history is a thing, especially when you've seen a deck a couple times.
Yeah.
Hi, Eclectic Camel, welcome. Especially when people are like, kill this person first. Not that we want you to not have someone you want to kill, but it can be very tempting to be like, yep, just murder them.
Yep.
And that's when it kind of gets to the point where it's like, am I emotionally attached to killing this player? Which isn't always bad, but you shouldn't do every single time. Or is this player an actual threat? So
Right.
when you pull out your little threat card, is it pointing
Like
the
this
right
one?
way? Like this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it pointing the right way? And how do you feel about that, Trent? Is your threat card pointing the right way? Ouch.
Always. Yeah. So threat assessment. This one comes up a lot. Content creators talk about it a lot. It is tough. Everyone's idea of what a real threat on the board is might be different. You'll see me on your stream, Beth, whenever someone's like, okay, you're a problem.
Yeah.
I always start laughing because I know I'm the problem, but you'll also see me be like, no, it's not me. It's not
No.
me. Look, if I'm a problem, normally I'll happily admit it. There's been a couple times where I haven't felt like I'm a problem. Maybe I've got like one big creature, but someone else is like has this giant board state and is literally has me in the death grip anyway, so it's not like I have the ammunition to fight said problem. I might have a fucking 8/8 flyer, but I don't have 15 1/1s that, if someone plays a goddamn Triumph of the Hordes or an overwhelming Stampede, GG, and I feel like there's a big difference. We recently played a game where I played my polymorph deck, and my polymorph deck has one goal, right? Like, I have 5 random creatures that I shuffle into the deck, and I pray that they are backbreaking. That is the point of the deck. When I land a Blightsteel Colossus or a Consecrated Sphinx off of a polymorph effect, it feels really cool because the deck is doing what it wants to do, and it needs a way to close out, and Blightsteel is that way to close out. That being said, Beth, if I polymorph into a Consecrated Sphinx and I draw 14 cards over the next turn, the smart move is to take out the player who has drawn 14 cards in 2 turns.
When you're the person who is piggybacking off that 14 card draw with a wedding ring, which I will play against you every single time.
Fair.
And that's where it kind of gets dicey because you have to, I think a lot of times when people are playing certain styles, like I've gotten to the point where 9 times out of 10, if you're playing certain decks, I remember them and I remember how much card draw is, because you do have some that aren't quite so crazy in the card draw. And then you have some where I'm like, I want to draw as many cards as you're drawing. And so I will pull out a deck that has Wedding Ring in it. And I will get that Wedding Ring on your ass like that. Sorry, Kaylee. In Magic, I'm marrying him. And
that just kind of brings it back to resources, right? Like, the people who have more resources at the table are, even if their board state isn't out of hand, if I have 15 cards in hand and someone else has 4, but they have a board state and I don't, chances are I'm still the threat because I have way more answers potentially than they do.
That's not typically where the Wedding Ring goes. I mean...
Oh, yeah, it doesn't normally go on my ass.
I don't know. I put it where I want.
So, yeah, threat assessment's tough, right? Because, everyone's perceived... I always if someone plays a turn 1 Soul Ring and I play a tap land, I'm going to say that the person with the turn 1 Soul Ring is going to be more of a threat earlier and more consistently
Right.
than me with my temple just because I scryed, or me with my fetch land that I went and grabbed a
Exactly.
snow duel with, you know, like
Absolutely. Also, Kaylee says she'll allow it because you are the biggest drawer in Magic.
oh yeah, I fucking love drawing cards.
So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you have to kind of weigh the risk versus the reward, and I am very bad at if I'm getting rewarded, unless you're like, I want to be your friend. This is a group hug deck, and then I'm like, kill, murder, kill. But like when it comes to like one person is getting something, but I'm getting something too, I know that personally I'm very reluctant. Like I know in my head I'm like they're gonna win, they're gonna do something evil, but in my
Right.
head I'm like, but I'm getting a cookie. I like cookies.
Yeah, it kind of boils down. We'll talk about stacks and tax in a second, but like the CEDH mindset, if someone plays a Rhystic Study, a Mystic Remora, or an Esper Sentinel, and you're not paying for those triggers, that person is drawing more cards collectively than anyone else at the table. They are more than likely going to win. And like we saw this last night with Sylvan Scholars, Bear and I with Fitzy Fitz. Fitz drew more cards than everyone else, was able to slow down everyone else's game plan just enough, was able to draw just a couple more cards than everyone else. Guess who fucking steamrolled us 2 games in a row? Fitz. Like,
No, it's kind of funny because, and this is like just another example of bad threat assessment. That wasn't me, by the way. In my game last night, someone had played a Esper Sentinel, and at the first couple turns, I didn't pay because I couldn't pay, and like I wanted it. I was like so far behind, I needed to put stuff out on my board.
yep.
But then I was starting to get to the point where I needed to pay. And I was
Right.
paying my taxes. But the other people at the table refused to pay. Until
Yep.
finally, one guy was dead. I was starting to slowly build my squirrel army, but I wasn't quite there yet. The guy who had Esper Sentinel also had his commander out. It was Adeline. He was giving him indestructible on every attack. Like, I was really struggling to find an answer, and honestly, the only reason I won is because his threat assessment was also poor. And he didn't swing out at me. So we got around to I would call him player 1, I'm player 2. We got to player 3, and player 3 paid something. The Esper kid said, do you want to pay for that? And he goes, no. And I look at him, and he's got 3 untapped mana. It doesn't look like he's ready to move to combat. Doesn't look like he's really gonna play anything else. And I'm like, are you sure you don't want to pay 1? Because like you have the mana. And he goes, no, I'm gonna play something after. And I was like, well, okay, whatever, your choice, whatever.
Yep.
And he goes to combat, and he hit me, and whatever. And then he didn't play another spell, and I was just like, and I didn't say anything because it was just like, bro,
Yeah.
like, I know how long you've been playing Magic because you've been playing at this LGS longer than I have. And if I'm not making this mistake anymore, neither should you. Benny
Right.
will get you.
Well, there comes a point, I'll refer back to like the command zone, right? Game nights. They've had several episodes now where either Esper Sentinel or Rhystic Study are on the battlefield, and people can't pay for their first couple of spells or won't pay. And then they get to a point where it's like, oh, well, what's one more card? What's one more
Right.
card? What's one more card? I'll tell you what one more card is. It's one more answer. It's one more land drop. It's one more
Yep.
everything.
Everything.
Like,
Yep.
so like once you start feeding, like last night, Fitz played Esper Sentinel on turn 1. And
Oh,
I was
God.
last in turn order, and I kept a hand that was Soul Ring. I think it was either a Signet or a Talisman or something like that. So I knew going into it Like, this is my hand. If someone plays a Mystic Remora, I will just not play anything. But Esper Sentinel's a little different because you're like, okay, it's one card, and then I can play out the rest of my turn. And so the table kind of collectively was like, if someone plays a turn 1 Mystic Remora, you just wait. And it sucks, but you just wait. You let them, sit there and not pay. Eventually, they'll stop paying the mana on upkeep because they need to develop their board too.
Right.
But when it's Esper Sentinel, you're kind of like, okay, I'm extremely reliant on getting this turn 1 play. Like, I need this mana. I need this acceleration. I need to be able to tutor. You're kind of screwed. And so Esper Sentinel feels like, okay, this first turn, I can give it away. I can give them that one card. Because then next turn, I'll have the mana. I can pay for it. I can do all this shit. It sucks because we're kind of lured into this false sense of like, okay, it's only one card because then I can play out 3 other spells and it's not going to, they're not going to draw 3 cards. It's not like it's a Rhystic Study, but it kind of is. And I think us players, I mean, just all of us in general, need to be aware that drawing cards is powerful. It's not game ending, but it will be. And you're literally just giving more ammo to the players that know they can utilize it. That's why those pieces are in those decks, right? Like, when someone plays Harmonize in a green deck, they draw 3 cards. Like, it's not the end of the world, but if someone plays a Guardian Project and then they, on their next turn, they cast an elf, draw a card, cast an elf, draw a card, cast an elf, draw a card. That's the kind of just big, explosive, like, when someone starts drawing 4 to 6 cards a turn, that player's the fucking threat. I don't care who you are. It's usually me.
Absolutely. It is always you. It's always you.
It's always me.
It's always you. So what we've learned is that the threat is Trenton, and that is it.
Yep.
No, but seriously, guys.
Pay your goddamn taxes.
Pay your taxes! You're welcome, Benny. Also, it's not just board state. It's not current board state. It's not always... You got to think future. You got to think current and future, okay? And sometimes current is the threat in that moment, but you also have to be willing to pass that threat over when it's time. Don't make your threat assessments off of emotion or game history, because at the end of the day, it's not about who hit you last game or how many times Trenton drew 1,000,000 cards, although don't forget it because he will.
Hey, you just said game history.
Game history. Yes. So
yeah, it's no different than when you sit down across from a certain commander, right? Like, if you sit down at the table and someone is playing Korvold and another person is playing Edgar Markov, and then another person is playing, some janky ass tribal like snake deck or some shit, you don't. I hate to say this because I know what a lot of those commanders can do, right? Like, Korvold is stupid powerful. Edgar Markov is stupid powerful. I think it's bad practice to look at threatening commanders and assume that that person is playing the most optimized version of that deck, right? Like, Korvold can be built as a Treasure Storm deck, as a Goblin combo deck, as any number of types of deck, really. But if you sit down at a table across from Korvold and you're like, oh, fuck, great, it's fucking Korvold, I'm just going to kill them first. They could be playing some janky-ass, like, Jund Goblin deck, for all you know, because that's what they wanted to do, and just so happen to draw cards along the way, maybe? Like, if they're not capitalizing on Treasure Storm Korvold, and they're not sacking 50 treasures, drawing 50 cards, they're not as big of a threat as maybe the person who's playing the fucking Adeline deck, who's creating 40 tokens every rotation, you know?
Yes, absolutely. So, that's threat assessment.
Yeah, and I mean, it comes with time. I've been playing for 5 years, and there's still decks where I will look at a specific commander and be like, fuck. And then the deck starts to play, and I'm like, oh, well, okay, it's not that bad. Like,
so let's talk about the next portion of this. And I'm going to throw the link in chat because I think that this article is everything. Like, we don't even need
so
to say
good.
anything. Like, we're going to sit here. Let's take a moment of silence for Not Everything That Slows You Down is Stacks by Kristen Gregory. Moment of silence. And not everything that slows you down is stacks. So, new players like myself, I feel like maybe I'm just an idiot, but I don't think so because I know that I've seen people make the same mistake. Do not know what stacks means. And I'll tell you, when I first heard stacks, I thought it was where cards got on the stack and you were like, I counter, no I counter, no I counter, no I counter, which happens and makes sense that it would be stacks, but that's not what stacks is. So Trenton,
Nope.
what is stacks?
So stacks is it's a term that was made up based originally around the card Smokestack, which is let me pull it up really quick.
I get it.
So it's an artifact that costs 4, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a soot counter on Smokestack. And at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a permanent for each soot counter on Smokestack. Now this includes lands, because it doesn't say non-land permanents. This includes tokens. This includes everything. So Smokestack eventually gets to a point where, you know, at 3 soot counters, each upkeep, that player, like if I pass to Beth with Smokestack on 3, she has to sacrifice 3 permanents. And holy fucking shit, if all she has are lands, she is no longer playing the game. Just straight up can't play the game. Now, there's also several other cards like Stasis, Winter Orb, and Static Orb that make stacks an actual like viable thing. Those kinds of cards make lands not untap during their owner's untap step, or any permanents really. Static Orbit and Stasis are really bad about that. So stacks is an archetype that kind of exists right now primarily in CEDH because it's acceptable there. Because CEDH, your rule 0 is everyone's here to win any way possible. And if that means grinding the game to a complete fucking halt and making it so nobody plays anything for the rest of the night, then that's how you win. Sometimes it takes so long that people will just scoop out of spite, and sometimes there's an actual game plan, like we talked earlier about Lavinia and Knowledge Pool / Omen Machine. With that in mind, the subset of stacks, and where a lot of people, I personally started, when I first started playing, I also did not like tax effects, like Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. She's been reprinted. She's like $1. She's affordable. I think she should be in every single deck that plays white, because every other deck can do things at instant speed for super cheap that white can't do, right? Like,
Right.
if you play a Thalia or a Vryn Wingmare, which has the same exact text, non-creature spells cost 1 more, people can still play their creatures. They can still cast their commander for cheap. They can still do all that. It's the quote-unquote degenerate things that they can't do as much. Green players have to pay more for their ramp spells. Guess what? That's a good thing in my opinion, because not every fucking green deck should be churning out 12 lands in a turn, you know? Blue players have to pay more for their draw spells, pay more for their counter spells. Everyone has to pay more for their artifacts. And I think that's key, because I've been seeing more and more casual mana crypts and fucking smothering tithes and fucking mana vaults, even like making people play a little more on the fair side. I think is fair fucking game. If someone wants to play Vryn Wingmare and Thalia, or Blind Obedience, you know, making artifacts and creatures enter the battlefield tapped, I love those kinds of effects. I think those need to be played more. Maybe not so much Smokestack. That's a different, but that's an actual stacks piece, right?
Yeah.
Like, rule of law is a stacks piece. Making it so people can only cast 1 spell every turn really slows down a game. Making people pay 1 more, maybe 2 more, not so much, you know?
Yeah.
So-
I do like Talia, especially I have her in I think both my mono white deck and my Liesa deck. And it just, because like I have a bunch of creatures that are very expensive, it helps everyone else kind of have to slow down so that I can, without ramping, be
Right.
on curve, right? Like I can play that. I can then play something else, and I can play something else, and then I can actually keep up with everybody having those bigger creatures. I think it's another way if you're not ramping or you don't have as many ramp abilities as white doesn't have as green. It gives you that chance to stay with the bigger creatures that you'd like to play. Thank you so much, Magic is Mental Health, for gifting a tier sub to Girl Redacted. Yay! We appreciate you.
Speaking of, he asked a question, or they asked a question. In
Yeah.
our opinion, or each of you, in our opinion, what's our favorite stack style card that turns off triggered abilities or most useful? So, I love certain effects. I don't like playing against them because I love ETB triggers. But things like Strict Proctor and Hushbringer should absolutely see more play. If someone is playing a fucking Scoot Swarm deck, play that goddamn Hushbringer and shut that shit down. Because it'll hose a landfall strategy. It'll hose Yarok decks. It'll hose all that crap.
Yeah.
My favorite personal hate bear card is Energy Flux, which is 2 and a blue for an enchantment that says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices each artifact they control unless they pay two generic mana for it. I used it against Corey in his artifact deck, and it worked to great effect. It did exactly what I needed it to do because he had given all of his artifacts indestructible, and it hoses treasure decks if they're trying to save that mana. Like, absolutely just destroys them. They either use their treasure to pay for their upkeep on their artifacts, or they lose their treasure, and it's a win-win. And it's great in like blue control decks. It's great in, personally, I use it in my Enchantress deck, my Bant Enchantress deck, because I run 0 artifacts, and it's nice to tell everyone with Soul Rings to get bent.
Yeah. I'm going to say, honestly, I don't have a favorite stacks card. I don't like stacks personally. I think it's kind of frustrating.
Hey, but this is tax, Beth. Not just stacks.
I have a favorite tax card, and I think we all know who she is.
Oh, Thalia.
No! Liesa.
Oh, Liesa. Yeah, Liesa's so good.
Liesa,
that 2 life.
Liesa is my favorite tax card because here's the thing. My Liesa deck gets around almost all of Trenton's ramp requirements because at the end of the day, that deck only needs 99 cards and 1 commander. She just needs absolutely nothing else. As long as I can play her, there's a good chance I will win because even trying to take her out, I bring her right back. So she is very hard to answer from the command zone. And honestly, I wouldn't say she should be banned, but she is very tough to beat, even with great decks, because unless you are taking her under your control, and you're still paying for your spells, I feel bad sometimes playing her, which is why I put her away for several months because she's just tough. But I don't like stacks. I'll be honest. I don't. I like everyone to be able to play. It's one of the reasons why my table personally has like a more free going that thing that you do mulligan.
Yep.
You know, I don't want to see you get magicked. Even that game that we just played, it was fair because we both ended up getting magicked, but the first couple of turns I was like, I had this like pit in my stomach because Trenton wasn't able to play anything, you know, and that sucks, man. Like that's not what the game is about for me. So,
right.
But
yeah, I mean, it is the name of the game. Sometimes that shit happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I kept a risky, like I did not want to keep mulliganing just to get flooded again. Like I said, the first two hands were like 6 lands and no sagas, no enchantments, no nothing. So it was like this hand doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So then I kept a risky 2-lander and I paid the price.
I do
I got-
play a card, and I forgot the name of it, that just based off of what I'm reading is kind of stacksy. It doesn't allow you to play cards out of your graveyard or target cards out of your graveyard.
Which one?
I don't know. If I remember the name, I would tell you. But
There's Grafdigger's Cage, there's Karuno, the Hound from Theros Beyond Death, who shuts down graveyard strategies.
no.
There's was it Dorothea? No, who's the dude?
I don't know.
Dennick?
No.
Dennick?
Maybe Dennick? I don't know. Anyways.
Dennick, Pious Apprentice. Cards in graveyards can't be the targets of spells
Yeah,
or abilities.
that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
I
like
mean, it
that's
shuts
the
down.
closest to Staxy that I play.
Right.
No, Tomic, I love Tomic, but I wouldn't call him stacks because here's the thing, you're choosing, right? With Tomic, you choose whether to put a counter on or not. So that's tax.
Yeah, and honestly, those pieces of graveyard hate, I don't think they're staxy or taxy at all. If anything, they're just targeted against, and Kaylee is going to hate me for this, graveyard decks like Marin.
He's saying Tomic is the other land guy, which is the guy, Orzhov Advocist. Advocist is the one that gives you the counters. So that's taxi.
Oh.
So Tomic is lands on the battlefield, and lands and graveyards can't be targeted spells or abilities your opponents control, and your opponents can't play land cards from graveyards.
Honestly, I think it's great because landfall decks love to play Ramunap Excavator and Crucible of Worlds and Scape Shift. And I mean, there's those, if you're playing like mono white, or I mean, it doesn't even have to be mono white, right? Like you could be playing Mardu or Azorius or Esper. If you're just playing not green, then these pieces shut down very specific strategies, and it may not turn off everybody's strategy. It might just be one person, and that actually kind of helps the rest of the table stabilize. Because if you've got one green player who is just going fucking rampant,
Yeah.
slow him down. Like
Yeah.
I bitch about green all the goddamn time because it at this point green does literally everything for the most part, and relatively well and or efficiently. And if you're not in green, you're kind of playing a slower and or weaker game as far as like speed in the format goes. So
Yeah.
I think Graveyard Hate needs to see more play. I think Tax Effects should see more play. You know, don't play Stasis because no one wants a 10-hour game, but play Thalia, play Blind Obedience, make people really have to sequence their plays to get the most value out of it instead of just vomiting their hand onto the board and being like, sweet, yeah, next turn's going to be fire.
Yeah. So in summary, read the article. It's on Card Kingdom. We posted the link in chat. Kristen Gregory, thank you. We agree with you. You're amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then finally, the last portion of our scoop section is etiquette, or as I called it in my notes, don't be a dick.
Yeah, this one should be very straightforward. So I posted some shit on Twitter earlier this week that got some heat, not nearly as much as yours, Beth, but
And what's funny is even when we talked about this, we weren't talking about Twitter. We were literally only talking about games. And then
yeah. So here's the thing. I get that we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yes.
If you go to your LGS and you're playing games with someone and someone offers you their like a handshake for either a good game or like good luck on your games or whatever, if you're uncomfortable with that handshake, that's totally fine. Like just make that known. Be like, look, I'm uncomfortable, whatever. Personally, I think there's more hand sanitizer in every store on every shelf than there ever has been since the start of the pandemic. Literally everyone carries one in their fucking purse. Like, there's hand sanitizer for a reason. But if you're uncomfortable with getting your hand shaken, that's fine. Say that and move on. But if someone offers you a good game or a thanks for the game, or if you had like Beth could have fucking annihilated me with this deck earlier, and I would have just been like, yeah, it sucks. I kept a risky hand. Good game anyway.
Yeah.
If you decline a good game or a thanks for the game or anything like that, it feels like poor sportsmanship, and I'm not down for it. Like,
I'm just gonna correct that. Disrespectfully, it is poor sportsmanship, and you're a dick.
all right, yeah, that's. I'm trying to be nice about it in case someone's like, "Oh yeah, I don't say good game after my games," but
Yeah.
you know, like it's common courtesy. Like,
I don't think it's the
thanks for
same as
games.
not saying it, but I think
Sure.
like if you don't say it, okay, you forgot, cool. Maybe start saying it because I feel like people don't hear it enough. But if somebody says it to you and you're like, "Nah, fam, fuck off," you fuck off. That's all I
Yeah.
have to say. Like, sorry. And I might be feeling a tad bit spicier this week after yesterday, but you know what? I said what I said. I meant what I
Fuck 'em.
said, and fuck them.
Yeah. Look, we're all playing a game that we love and
Yes.
we're all invested in.
In one
And
way
it
or
is
another.
hard to
Yep.
have good games with strangers sometimes. Like, I was nervous as fuck to start playing Spell Table with complete randos. Like,
But look at
but-
how we're married now. All
look,
the time.
yeah, exactly. Look how it turned out.
Yeah.
I'm miserable, you know? I'm just kidding.
As every
like,
marriage is.
If at the end of
kidding.
all of those games I had ever looked at the group and been like, or someone said, "Hey man, good game," and I was like, "Well, it wasn't a good game for me," and then just pieced out, I would never have been invited back to play with anybody.
Never.
Fucking guaranteed.
No,
So-
absolutely not. I've been like, well, that guy was a dick.
Right. Like, if you lose, even if you like, and I have lost spectacularly before, kept shitty hands that I shouldn't have kept, and
Been targeted by Beth emotionally.
yeah, been targeted by Beth or anyone emotionally. Like,
Tawny.
yeah, Donnie wiped the fucking floor with my ass, and I was just like,
Dang,
this-
Donnie.
I was like, this sucks, but take the fucking loss, fucking smile, and be like, dude, that was a good game. Your
Put on
deck
your
did
big
stupid
boy
shit.
pants.
Like, well, yeah, and
And
I think that's
here's another thing. Just like to party off of that, there are new players out there. They could be 12, they could be 30, they could be 50. They probably don't know what they're fucking doing.
right.
Be the person. Sure, you're probably going to beat them. Good for you. Like,
Right.
here's your gold star, move on. But be the person that doesn't just beat them, but teaches them and makes them feel welcome. If that
Yeah.
one player, and I'm sure a lot of people now wish that he hadn't done this, but if that one player hadn't made me feel welcome at my LGS, I guarantee you that I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today, right now, streaming this or talking to you or playing on Spell Table or any of that. I would have gone to my LGS one time, been like, that was the worst experience of my life. I remember why I don't go to LGSs. I don't know anyone else who really likes to play Magic as much as I do, so I will just give it up. And I'd be richer, but sadder.
Yeah, and you wouldn't know cool people like Danny and Corey.
And you. And
Oh,
Kaylee.
wow, yeah.
And your fluffy doggo.
My fluffy doggo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No, just be a good sport. Like, if it's so frustrating, especially when people are like, well, obviously, you know, it's a card game, it's not a sport. Like, shut the fuck up and be a good sport. Shake people's hands if you're comfortable with it. If you're not, accept the good game and or thank you or whatever. Like, obviously on Arena it's different. I've seen people spam the GG emote when they're being dicks. I get it, I guess.
Right.
It's stupid, but I don't think it's an excuse to not ever say thank you or good game to someone in person.
right.
So just use your goddamn manners. Like,
yeah.
we weren't raised in barns. We're not fucking cavemen. Just say thank you. Say good luck on your next games if you're at an LGS and you're you know, you got salty and you got blown out of the water. Shit happens. Like, just
Yeah.
accept it and find another table, find another game, but
Yep.
don't let your saltiness stop you from congratulating someone on their win or complimenting their deck. One of the best things you can do when someone's doing the thing with their deck is be like, holy shit, that's dope. Like,
Yep.
Kaylee built me a deck for Christmas that is a meme, and it's nothing but creatures in the 99. It is a fucking blast to play, and we were playing it like 2 weeks ago, and I was just like, this deck is fucking awesome. I'm literally just casting stupid big creatures and smashing people's faces, and like telling her that the deck was so much fun to play was hands down, like the look on her face was just like, this is why I do this. Like this, it meant more to her that I enjoyed just playing this janky meme deck than anything else. So fucking take it, accept it, have fun with it. Let people know that what they're doing is cool, or you've never seen an interaction like that, and fucking capitalize on it. If you're getting blown out by a combo you've never seen, just be like, oh, that's neat, never seen that before. Don't get fucking pissed. Like,
Yeah, for
obviously
sure.
rule zero talks, like try and have a good rule zero talk so you don't get blown out by a combo you've never seen. But
Absolutely. And just to take that one step further, if in life you are disagreeing with someone or you are having a bad time, guess
don't
what?
be a dick.
Don't be a dick. And you don't have to be there.
True.
Mic
It's
drop,
true.
mic drop, mic drop, mic drop,
Yep,
mic drop,
yep.
mic drop. Anyways, that pretty much wraps up this episode of We're Gonna Deck You. If you have any questions, respectfully get off my dick. Don't be a dick. Disrespectfully get fucked. Kamigawa rocks. We
Kamigawa
love
is such a dope set. This set's so much fun.
we love magic. And everything is based off your perspective, so make it what you want to be. Yeah.
Respectfully,
Respectfully make it what you
Yeah.
want it to be. So thank you for joining us this week on We're Gonna Deck You. I know we're still kind of trying to figure out what our schedule is, but I think it's going to get a lot easier because Trenton quit his job.
That's true.
So we'll definitely be a little more regular starting in March. And I hope that you've enjoyed this so far. If you have, please tell us about it. Tweet us, share with us on Discord, mention it in the comments, and buy our merch. And eventually I'll give Trenton some of that money. We've only had 2 people purchase it. One was Jen, the other was Trenton's girlfriend, which if she just asked, I would have sent something. But alas, here we are.
She likes. I mean, dude, she buys merch from my fucking band. Like
Nice.
she's gonna spend the money.
Aw. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, Trenton. And we're going to end this thing, but we are going to go raid Cop. So please stay with us and give them all the love. Bye.
See ya.